as you can see. I
You
mean, the
left
sunny background just didn't seem fitting.
Martha Stewart's house didn't work anymore for you to do
No.
meetings. Went to the
Well,
closet.
not today. You'll probably see it again though.
I get it.
And Andrew's got a glass of wine in Sonoma hidden just off camera, I can tell.
No, I can promise you two things. One, I'm not drunk, and the other is I would be if it weren't for this meeting.
Honesty is key.
Good to know.
I could show you a view outside, Andrew, and it'll make you feel even better about where you are. So.
I'm seeing pictures. I got friends who are sending it to me, so no, I'm happy where I am. Thank you.
Yep. Skiing's gonna be good tomorrow, though. I know that much.
Hunter,
Yes.
I wanted to make a citizen's comment when my turn comes, so just flag me.
Sounds good, Mary. Yeah, that's right after a roll call, and I'll open that up. So
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Thank you. All right. I am seeing that it is 4.
Hi, everyone.
Seeing as it's 4 o'clock, I'd like to call to order the regular meeting of the Frisco Town Council. May I have the roll call, please?
Certainly. Mortensen,
Here.
Aronson,
Here.
Fallon,
Here.
Held,
Here.
Inken,
He's on.
Rick, we can't hear you.
Here.
Thank you. Sherburne,
Here.
Burley.
Here.
Thank you, Jesse.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Welcome, everybody. Good to see everybody. Hope everybody's having a good snowy spring day. Next, I'd like to open it up for public comment. Anyone wishing to make public comment this afternoon, you may do so now. Please be topic specific for anything that is not on this afternoon's agenda. Please state your name and address for the record and keep your comments to no longer than 3 minutes. And Mary, since you said you were here for that, I'll have you start it off. Mary, welcome.
Thank you. My name is Mary Waldman, and I live in 261 North 6th Avenue here in Frisco. And I'm also with Summit Mountain Rentals. This is Nancy's last week, and I wanted to thank her for her dedication to our Frisco business owners. During COVID, Nancy, you were one of us, a local business owner, fighting for our rights and helping us in so many ways. You were the mother hen that took personal interest to make sure that we received every government support available. So you put businesses first. And I have to say, you were the best town manager ever. So thank you, and I will miss you.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Mary. I will
Thank
miss
you,
you
Mary.
too. Thank you.
Bobby, and then I'll go to Todd after Bobby. Go ahead, Bobby.
I would just like to reiterate what Mary had said. It was a very difficult time, COVID, and I just want to let you know how much the business community really appreciated your leadership, Nancy, and town council. There was hopefully it's a once in a lifetime event. We never have to go through another pandemic like this, but I just want to say how much we appreciated, the leadership you all showed. And we're going to miss you, Nancy.
I miss you too, Bobby. Thank you.
Todd, go ahead.
All right, Nancy, I wish you the best of luck, and I know it's a good move for you. I'm Todd Altschuler. I've got a business at 710 Main Street, and I live at 412 Galena, and I'm going to speak out one more time against the promenade. For many of you, bringing back the promenade seems to be based around the number 88%, and that's the amount of people that were surveyed that want a promenade. And while I understand it's your job to listen to your constituents and give them what they want, the number could be looked at as a death sentence for some businesses. If 88% of people that are going out to dinner or happy hour are going to leave their homes and walk, bike, or drive to the promenade, then that only leaves 12% of people for the remaining businesses to pull from. I know it'll be a little bit more than that, but that's what the numbers say. Ollie's, Highside, Silver Heels, Tavern West, Frisco Prime, My Business, 10 Mile. Those are just a few of the businesses that could be pretty harmed by a vote like this. And, I've been told it'll bring people to Frisco, so all businesses should reap the benefits. But if you think about it, people like to eat outdoors, and because you're giving places like Fifth Avenue and Greco's and Begali's and Butterhorn triple or quadruple their normal outdoor capacities, they're going to be able to accommodate the entire 88% of the people without a wait, meaning that those 88% of people will really have no reason to ever leave the promenade. Now, a lot of you are not business owners, so maybe none of this does resonate with you, but you are homeowners. So I tried to make a residential comparison, and the best I could come up with.
Can I interrupt you real quick? Sorry, Todd, I apologize. I just wanted to, are you able, because we do have this as part of our agendized discussion this afternoon. Are you able to stay on and make these comments during that?
Totally. I didn't know I was able to. I was told to come on during public comment. I will mute myself, and I will come back and finish that thought later.
All right. I appreciate it. Sorry to cut you off, but yeah, we because then we can be up to date on the conversation and the agenda.
I know nothing about how town council works. So thank you.
Thanks, Todd. I appreciate it. Anyone else wishing to make a public comment? Joyce, welcome. Good to see you, Joyce.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you so much for Nancy, and because I could, I'm not too involved on all this, and I don't get too much, but the times when I saw Nancy speaking, I could see her heart really was out, and we really do appreciate it, what you did for all the businesses and everything. So thank you so much for everything. It's a sincere appreciation, and we appreciate everybody, but thank you so much, Nancy. Thank you for your service and the time that you went with us. We appreciate you here in Frisco. So good luck to you, and we hope to see you soon.
Thank you, Joyce. I appreciate
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to make public comment this afternoon?
Yeah, I got kind of more looking. My name's Hayes Walsh. I live at 223 Creekside Drive. I'm more looking for a little bit of direction. If I were to want to spearhead or try to get a calisthenics sort of gym, it's pretty minimal. If I was to try to get some kind of project like that put at the marina, what direction, what steps I would go. One would be needing funding. One would just be needing like a design and footprint approval for if I had private funding. And then my second question or thing I'm looking for guidance on is a potential permit to rent out umbrellas at the marina this summer, or some kind of shade structure. They cut down all the trees this past year, and I don't really know why. I wasn't, I think maybe the wind danger or something, but so I don't know. I was just kind of thinking there's no shade there anymore, and maybe there's a shade structure rental service already in place I don't know about. But if there's not, I'd be interested in getting the permit to be the one that could operate that, and I'll yield the rest of my time to anybody that might have direction for me.
Thank you, Hayes. I will work on having the appropriate staff reach out to you. I think it'd probably be Diane McBride because that falls in her department, but we will follow up. And I'll just say, sadly, those trees weren't cut down. They were a victim of nature, and the wind blew them down. So I'm with you. That was a tragic loss, but I appreciate that. And we'll have Diane or someone from her team reach out to you and follow up to answer some of those questions. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
I see Johnny Greco at the bottom of my screen. Johnny, good to see you. Welcome.
I have Rick here with me. I just wanted to say thank you to Nancy. You were wonderful during COVID, unprecedented times. You surely made it a lot easier for us Main Street business owners and other owners. So thank you and best of luck.
Thank you, Johnny. Rick. Thank you.
I wanted to wish you my best also. I've sort of been off the radar the last couple of months, life circumstance and everything, but I cannot imagine having to have gone through COVID without you and without your leadership and your guidance and your instincts. You have been an asset to this community. Made myself, my family, and every resident here feel comfortable, safe, and secure during these trying times. And I understand your reasoning for leaving, and you trust me, you will be missed. And I enjoyed our time together.
Thank you, Rick. It's good to see you.
Thank you both. I'm allowing some leniency on not giving your full name and address this afternoon, as I realize these town comments are very pointed to Nancy, and I appreciate all of that. So I appreciate everybody. Is there anyone else wishing to make a comment? And if you called in, you can also just unmute yourself now. All right, and I am seeing no additional comments. Is that true, Deborah? Thank you. I appreciate you helping me watch. With that, I will close public comment and open to mayor and council comments. And I'll start off with a few quick things. I just wanted to just say that we did pass out our scholarships, the Town of Frisco scholarships to our graduating seniors from Summit High a week or 2 weeks past, and congratulate all of them. It's always an honor to be able to be a part of their continued journey while they're leaving the community and representing Frisco in the broader world. So want to congratulate all of them, and then specifically call out one of them who I just found out, while she did receive the scholarship, won't need it because she was selected to attend West Point Academy. So Sophia Henry, congratulations. That is a huge accomplishment, and proud to know that Frisco will be well served by you in the coming years. So, and I'm going to kind of transition and follow suit, I think, with the rest of the public comments today. And I'm going to kick it off, and just wanted to also thank Nancy. And if you give me a second, I need to scroll through all my various screens here, but I apologize. One moment. I've got too many agendas open. But Nancy, I want to say thank you. And I want to say that pivotal moments in history sometimes go by without being noticed. It isn't until we look back to understand where we are today. The pivotal decisions that are made affect the foundations of culture, community, course, and identity. Some are subtle and others are obvious from the very moment they happen. Today, I'm proud to say that a decision we made will forever be a chapter in the history books of Frisco. It is when council brought you, Nancy Carey, to this little mountain town to be our manager. Nancy strolled down our historic Main Street, high heels and all, wondering how such a beautiful place could exist. And from the day she started to today, she has not lost the awe she had originally found in Frisco. That awe and passion has helped her become a cherished part of our community, Frisco, and beyond. Nancy has taught me the true essence of what civil service is about. Always be honest, always be fair, lead with compassion, and remember who you serve. I do not know what my first year of mayorship would have looked like without the unwavering confidence and support from Nancy. I attribute much of our town's success and the team to Nancy and the team she's built around her in the last few years. Nancy, I don't know how to truly say thank you for all you have done. Know that when you roll west out of town and onto your next great adventure, that behind you, you will leave in a legacy as inspiring as Peak One itself. On behalf of the town, the staff, my family, I want to thank you. And we wish you and your family health and wellness, and I look forward to seeing you back in Frisco, as I know that you will not be able to stay away. With that, I'd also like to turn it over to council to allow you all to say a thought.
Mayor, thank you so much for those comments. I have some comments too, and you're done.
All right, we'll let you. Yep. Andrew, go ahead, please.
So not as eloquently as Hunter just put it, but Nancy, very seriously, I am saddened by the decision for you to leave, but completely supportive of it. Meaning your reasoning, as it's been in our time together for a year, as you've taught me how to be a councilman, your decision-making process is solid, it's rational, it's thoughtful, and that's the decision you've made here. So again, it's one that doesn't make any of our lives better or easier, But I know, for speaking for myself and hopefully others, we are completely supportive of your prioritization and doing what's best for the world around you. So wishing you the best of luck. We'll be fine, and so will you. But thank you for everything you've done.
Thank you so much, Andrew.
Dan, go ahead. Go for it, Dan.
Oh, thank you all. And Nancy, it's hard to really to say. You've meant so much to this community and to me personally. What you've represented to me in terms of your work ethic, your commitment to public service, your integrity, your visioning. Hunter alluded to it, and the legacy you're going to leave is going to influence staff and councils for years to come. You made a lasting impact on this community, and and all I can really say, because I've said it before, is thank you, nice work, and I mean work in every sense and iteration of that word, in terms of what you have built and left for us. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
Melissa, and then Andy, go for it.
I don't know if you can see my hand sometimes with my background. Oh, Nancy, I don't even honestly know where to begin. So I'm just going to keep it short. But you are just an amazing human being. And I feel so lucky to have had the last couple years working with you. You lead with authority, yet compassion. You somehow manage to thread the needle between standing up for what's right, making things happen, and making everyone happy, which is a true talent, especially in municipal government. I think from my perspective, you make everyone's voices feel important. And I know that throughout the course of the last couple of years, I've come to you with ideas that some may view as small or insignificant, things that could be just brushed aside and said, oh yeah, we'll get to that one day. And you, instead of that, you made them feel very important. And not only that, you made them shine. And without that sort of leadership, I think we would have never had Make Frisco. We would have never had an arts initiative, let alone survive this pandemic, which is two, very different sides of the spectrum. You've shed light on mental health, on suicide awareness in ways that nobody else has in our community. And I just can't thank you enough. And you really, for me, are a true example of leadership, and really somebody that builds cohesion within the community. So I thank you. I look forward to continuing a friendship with you over many years. So thank you, Nancy. I'm going to miss you so much.
I miss you too, Melissa. Thank you so much.
Nancy, I'll keep it short as well. I could go on for a long time, I'm sure, but your contribution to our town will have long-lasting effects and will never be the same because of it. From the first moment I met you, you helped direct me where I was headed. And I greatly appreciate the ability to have worked with you and to work for you. And excuse me, I'm getting verklempt. We will truly miss you. And yes, as Andrew says, we will be fine, and we will. But we will not be the same. And we are better for having you with us, and we greatly appreciate it. Good luck in your future endeavors, and thank you for your service.
Thank you, Andy, so much.
Jesse, I see you've unmuted, and I'm sorry. Jesse's joining us by phone today, so go ahead, Jesse.
Hi, Jesse.
Yeah, my apologies. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, Nancy, it's hard to really sum up what everyone has already kind of said, but I think it really stands out that there were so many leaders of our business community on the call today during public comment who spoke to how highly they regard you. It's not often that, local business and local government really have that kind of working relationship. And I'm not sure that, we truly had that before you were here. I think Frisco is unique in that we do try our best to work to work across the community, but you really elevated that. And to Melissa's point, make, everybody's voices heard and feel special and feel important. I remember at the beginning of the pandemic, we didn't know what to think. The uncertainty still continues to this day, but you were so cool and calm, and you kept reassuring us that this will still pass. This will pass. Like everything, we will get through this. And it was that mantra of yours that really kind of carried us through, the last year, and really gave us hope and an opportunity, and really, helped our ideas and innovation carry our community through this unprecedented time. And the only other thing I'll say is you were the lady who said, let's find the path to yes. Let's figure this out. We can do this. And I think that's so important, because too often it's so easy to say no and to shut ideas down and to say this is never going to work, or it's too expensive, or, whatever the situation is. But you are a path to yes. Let's figure this out. How can we get creative? And I'll always, be thankful to you for helping us keep those doors open in Frisco. And so with that, I wish you all the best. Hope you stay in touch, and I know we're not done with you yet. So thank you, Nancy.
Thank you, Jesse.
And Rick, I know I lost your phone on my screen somehow, but Rick, are you there? And would you like to say a few words? May have lost Rick he's bouncing between.
Okay, I think I'm in.
There you are. Well, yeah, we hear you, Rick.
Cool. I'll be short. I think everyone's really summed up a lot of great things that Nancy's brought to the town and to the position. And to me personally is what I wanted to chime in on. Nancy, thank you for reinforcing and educating myself, the town, on all of us on strategic planning. And as Jesse said, creating a path to yes, and always having the priority of listening to others, whether you agree or disagree, knowing what the other people are thinking is important. So thank you for the leadership of the town. Thank you for educating myself. And again, we'll be talking to you here real soon. Thanks.
Thank you, Rick.
Thank you, everyone. I think it goes without saying the impact you've had, so we greatly appreciate it. And I think it's appropriate time then to turn it over to staff comments or staff updates, Nancy. And so that's you.
Okay, thank you. Mayor and Council, I thank you for those words of so much meaning. It doesn't surprise me that you would take the time to be so meaningful to me. And that's kind of what I wanted to say a few words to you about, that it has been my distinct pleasure, honor to serve you and this community and the staff team Frisco. I am just completely honored for that opportunity. I did write some things down, so I'll try to read that, but I'm entering this new chapter in my life, likely not to ever sit in manager's chair again, because I'm taking a new road to spend more time with family. But I'm very grateful for this opportunity in my professional life. I often joked that my father said, in going into government, I went to the dark side, but he actually really did say that to me. He was a business owner, and I saw the struggle he had with business and government, and I wanted to try to make things different. And often when we go into government, we really do want to make things different. We want to be innovative, but government tends to be a big, giant machine, and people somehow get clogged into that machine. But as managers, what we always look for are good counsels, and we call them good counsels. You'd be surprised when we go to managers retreats, like, do you have a good counsel? Like you're one thing, but we do. We say, oh, we have a good counsel, or some say maybe they don't have a good counsel. And this is a good counsel. And it's good for this reason. You individually care about each other, and you're not each one in every idea, but you listen to each other. You're innovative, you're engaged, you're interested, and you lean forward. You're constantly trying to say, is there a way we could do this? And Melissa, when you mentioned, oh, I have an idea, that's innovative. In government, we're employees, we want to be innovative. And you're a good counsel because you let us be innovative. And, we gave out last year, the first year is here, innovative awards and leadership awards, and you were there to thank them and be there for the employees. So you allow innovation, you encourage innovation, and you're rewarding innovation. And that's how government can be best. So when the pandemic hit, we were able to pivot quickly because we have a good counsel. And I hope that, we've said this a few times, but that you were meant to be here too. And I know that I was meant to be here. Some of the things that have happened to me here in the community have helped to heal some old wounds. As you all know, with the loss of my son, it's been hard sometimes in life to just keep going. But some of the beautiful friendships I've met here and the way that this community cares about mental health has allowed my son, his voice to come out, and you've even welcomed Dusty, even though he's been gone from us for so long. So I thank you for your understanding, your support, for assisting me and helping me do my job best, for being innovative to the community, and for being a really great counsel and a good counsel to work for. I hope this community knows what they have in you, because they're really lucky to have all of you. So together we did achieve a lot. It is a very magical, amazing community. I can't wait to come back. I will miss working with all of you very much. I'm going to miss some of the really great friends I've made, but I'm really excited to be able to see my husband once in a while and to see my grandgirls, Daniela and Taryn, Elise and Tori, who I think are listening, and Ireland. I'm happy to spend more time with them and my daughter. And I just really thank you for being supportive of that. It means a lot to me to grab a hold of that chapter too. So thank you very much for the opportunity. And so let's get to work on this good agenda tonight. Thank you so much, all of you. And I will be back. You're not going to get rid of me. You have a contract on the agenda. So thank you.
Thank you. I almost feel like I need to take a break so everybody can dry their eyes a little bit and get some tissues, but
thank you so much.
Yeah. I appreciate all of that. Thank you so much.
Thank you too. Means a lot.
Moving on, and I think in this
we do have some staff updates too. So Vanessa.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. On to some work. Let's
call them in order. So Vanessa, welcome.
Thank you so much, Mayor, Council. I don't think I can say goodbye on camera, so we're just gonna move right into updates. I don't know that I can do it. So very exciting news, townoffrisco.com. Type it into your phones, type it into your computers. Of course, not during the meeting, because I know we all need to pay attention, but when you have a free moment, because it's we have launched a completely new website as of about 1:30 today. We'll continue working on the site. That's fairly normal, and just ironing out a few details. Why would we publish a new site? Well, this site's a little over 5 years old, which means that visitation starts to go down and time spent starts to go down. This is a cleaner, newer design with graphic buttons. We only have one slider screen, so that means that it's easier for folks to load. It's faster. We also have entered maybe like 2019 by putting an Instagram feed at the bottom of the website. There's also a map that shows you where Frisco is in relation to other places in Colorado and even Utah, because occasionally, shockingly, people don't know where Frisco is. And we want them to know where that is right on the front page. And somebody on this meeting may have once said a few times that government doesn't succeed if business doesn't succeed. So we have a new great business directory, because if you're going to redo this website, why would you neglect the foundational uniqueness of Frisco by not highlighting the wonderful restaurants, lodging, retail, wonderful businesses we have. So you'll see a new business directory. The project manager on this website was Nikki Harper. So a huge kudos to her for working with our web developers, and on the business directory, Tasha Wilson. So kudos to them for doing that. So please check it out, and please provide your feedback. If something doesn't work, don't hesitate to let us know, because that happens when you launch a new site. Nonprofits update. We received 22 applications for the 12 concerts in the park. So 22 nonprofits applied to provide important services, and that is serving libations and potentially selling food if they choose to do so to our 12 concerts in the park. There's some criteria around whether or not you can apply. You have to be a nonprofit, of course, but also your mission and how it aligns with Frisco, and your nonprofit needs to be a benefit to Frisco citizens. Someone else on this call also always emphasized to us that it is important to be fair. And so in that spirit this year and going forward, hopefully we will be choosing these nonprofits through a random drawing to make sure that we are absolutely fair, and that everyone has a fair chance at becoming a beneficiary of these really wonderful concerts. Just a reminder, one of the things that this does is it allows us to, as a town, to not use the 15 special event liquor licenses that are allotted to us by the state of Colorado, because each of these nonprofits not only serve the libations, but they also apply for the special event liquor license. So we look forward to having a blind drawing and picking those nonprofits. Again, 12 concerts, 22 applications. And that is my update. Thank you.
Thank you, Vanessa. And yeah, as soon as I heard the new website was live, I went on my phone, because I know that's the hardest place, and it looked phenomenal. And yeah, it's nice to have it look so up to date and professional, and kudos to you and everything you've done with that. And I know websites are difficult. Are there other staff updates, Jeff? No, just turning.
Yeah, good evening, Mayor, Council. First, let me just chime in real quick and say that I have been led in my career by many people, and I have never been led by someone like Nancy, and I will forever be grateful for what she taught me. That being said, I just want to let you know a CDOT update that I got today, late this afternoon, that preliminary construction will begin on Monday, the 3rd, and lane closures will begin May 10th, just so that everybody's aware of what's going on with CDOT, and that's all, of course, weather permitting.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that, Jeff. Any other staff updates this time?
Thank you, Jeff.
All right, see no staff updates. Then in the theme of the start of today's meeting is more celebration of kind of community and who we are and what makes us so great. And really happy that we get to present 2 more of Frisco's Finest Awards. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to Nora to introduce them, please.
Hello, can you all hear me?
Yep.
Great. Today is certainly a day of celebrating shining examples of civil service. And with that, it is my great pleasure to welcome Don and Helen Gerstein, who are being awarded with Frisco's Finest Award. The Gersteins have been shining examples of civil service and critical volunteers at Frisco events since they moved here full-time in 2012. They willingly jump in at every single opportunity that we have thrown at them, and they even jump in and test out some of our bizarre new ideas, and their feedback has helped us move forward in meaningful ways every time. They not only help out in Frisco, but are quite involved with volunteering in the rest of Summit County. It is very clear that they have a hard time sitting still. They love to travel and explore, and in non-COVID times, they managed to take several cruises to fascinating and interesting places in between all of their volunteering. They always bring positive energy and hard work, and they make our events run smoothly, and sometimes they even bring a little bit of flair, dressing in the theme of the event. They have served as great ambassadors for Frisco, making our guests feel excited and welcome to be here. We've been so lucky to have them in their community, and in the theme of other excellent civil servants, they are also moving to be closer to family. So, Hunter, please.
Nora, thank you for that introduction, and Don and Helen, welcome. And I'm honored to present both of you the Frisco's Finest Award, and just want to say a little bit about the Gersteins. First began visiting Summit County in the 1990s and fell in love with Frisco. One summer after renting a unit in the town of Frisco during Frisco Barbecue Weekend, and after that, they moved to the town full-time in 2012 after their retirement. Don and Helen have been staple volunteers, helping in various capacities and always with a smile for numerous Frisco events, including, and be ready for this list because they are busy folks, Snowshoe for the Cure and accompanying Pink Party, Easter egg hunt, handing out supplies at Town Cleanup Day, the Sand Castle competition, Turkey Day 5K, and the Soup Cup Classic. They also helped expedite guests at the Tubing Hill during the busy holidays, and most probably importantly, ran the margarita booth at the Frisco Barbecue and 4th of July celebrations. In addition to all their volunteer work with the town, Don and Helen have contributed to the greater Summit County community by volunteering for the Summit Foundation, Laps Canine 4K, Breck Create, the Lake Dillon Theater, the Riverwalk Center, the Synagogue of the Summit, the Elks Lodge, Keystone Resort events benefiting Friends of the Dillon Ranger District, the annual cleanup at the Jewish Cemetery the Jewish Cemetery in Leadville. The Gersteins also has helped in several of our local sporting events like the USA Pro Cycling Challenge, the Firecracker 50, and the Breck 100. And finally, they currently serve on the Summit County Senior Board of Directors. All of the events that Don and Helen contributed to, the Easter egg hunt was one of their favorites. They love watching the kids act kindly towards one another by sharing eggs with those who did not get any. Their passion for altruism and volunteerism was instilled through their upbringing. They continue to foster these values in their own children and now grandchildren. Helen's parents raised her to volunteer, and Don stated that in his part of the Jewish tradition to do good deeds. When asked why she volunteers so much, Helen quoted John F. Kennedy in saying, "Ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country." Don and Helen will soon be moving to Eagle County to be closer to their grandchild. The town of Frisco wants to thank you for all of your service and all of you've done and being such an important part of our community over the last few decades. Thank you so much, Don and Helen. And I'd be happy to let you unmute and say a few words if you'd like. Do we need, oh, you're still. There you are. Now we got
I think we got her now.
All right.
You want to go first?
Yeah. It's right now, after all the accolades you gave us, I'm sad to leave the community, but to be closer to my grandson is important to me. And Hunter, if you know the mayor of Eagle, let him know that we're willing to work for whatever he wants, but we're actually buying his place.
I'll give him some advance warning then.
Okay. It's been a pleasure. I think the most enjoyable thing is the staff. Nora, she's the daughter I never had, and I would do anything for her. And the rest of Vanessa and Zane, and it's just been a pleasure working with them. And if they told me they had something for me to do today, I'd do it because I haven't left Summit County yet. But yeah, I mean, we've worked with a lot of your people. I mean, the very first thing we did, which we even forgot to tell Nora that, was the very first thing we volunteered for was at the information center. And we knew very little about the community, but we soon learned very fast.
Well, first of all, thank you to the town council and Nora and Vanessa too as well. We moved here, like you said, 9 years ago. It wasn't quite planned. We just happened to see a place listed for sale back then, and went and visited. Next thing we know, we owned it. In fact, one day Helen was still working, and I put in the last offer saying this is it, figuring that'd be the end of it, and got a call back and said, oh, congratulations, you're under contract. And I had to let Helen know. It's been a great time living here. It was a good choice to live here. Everybody's been marvelous. I'll echo Helen, say Nora and Vanessa and the whole town staff has been great. You know, it's kind of mixed feelings to be going to be closer to family, but to leave our friends and almost like family here is sad. Nancy, I guess I wish you well in your endeavors. I remember meeting you. I think you were just here a few days when we served margarita and beers at a pink party. It was the first time I met you there. So good luck in your endeavors, and thank you. And you never know, if you ever need a hand, let us know. We're not that far away. We're just down the road over the pass. Thank you again.
Thank you both. You guys are what make us an amazing town, an amazing community. And we wish you health and wellness and great memories and time with your family and your grandchild. And thank you again. And next time we have a margarita, we'll raise it to you in honor of what you've done.
Thank you. I guess I should add one more thing. The mention of the construction project starting. I guess that's one thing we won't miss. We lived through it last summer. We lived in Frisco Bay, so we saw it outside our window. So I guess it's an opportune time to be leaving, so we won't have to live through that again. But it is a good project and good progress, and it'll be nice when it's done.
Appreciate that. Thank you both. Safe travels. Be well.
Thank you.
Moving on to our work session and agenda item number 1, and this is a Summit County wildfire update. And
I'm going to turn that to Deborah. Deborah has the contact, or Gilly's going to start us off, I believe.
Great, thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you. Sorry, Mayor.
Good evening, Council and Mayor. I'm only here tonight to introduce Dan Schroeder from the Summit County Wildfire Council. He's here to talk to you and the public about engaging in wildfire prevention that the county funds, anything from large-scale forest health and resilience to small-scale projects like the curbside chipping program. And please don't let the current storm fool you. We're in for a dry summer and we are still in severe drought here in Frisco. So Dan, it's all yours.
Wow. So volume, it's coming your way, right? Got to cover that base. Gilly, thank you so much. And town of Silver, I just got off an email to Silverthorne. I'm going to talk to their council tomorrow. But hey, Frisco council members, community members, staff, managers, I appreciate you having me here today. And the main reason I asked to have an agenda item is just to share with you a program that I've been intimately involved in. And I want to let you know what it is that you are actually participating in. And hopefully you all know this already. The topic of wildfire is all of our issue. And I think of economics, really. If we had a wildfire incident anywhere in our region, really, I mean, we had surrounding fires last year, the Peak 2 fire, and what else? I guess Buffalo. I mean, we have had fires here, and it doesn't help the economy, and that's a trickle down. And so it's important that we are all aware of what's going on in the prevention side of things, and that we support prevention so that we support our own communities and we don't scare people off. I'm a California boy originally, and I remember my mom saying that. So I was transplanted, and my mom said, Dan, I just heard your governor say Colorado's on fire. And I was like, holy smokes, that's not really a good message to send for tourism, right? For the dollars that are coming this way. So we're working real hard with the natural resource arena to, well, support healthy communities. I think that's the bottom line. We have 3 tiers of programs that are going on. By the way, I never said exactly who I am. Pardon me, my mind swirls and I try real hard to be linear. So I'm Dan Schroeder, Colorado State University Extension Director. I real quickly, I say my boss is in Steamboat, his secretary is in Grand Junction. My paycheck comes from Fort Collins, and I report to the Board of County Commissioners in Summit County government. So there's this real hybrid job that I sit in, and it's almost all natural resources. We do have our 4-H program as an extension as well. And we'll see, it's turned from forestry into wildfire. I've been in the county 21 years, and I love where I live. I was 10 years with Keystone Science School, and now I'm 12 years in this role. So wildfire, if you don't mind, I would love to share my screen and show you all what's been occurring in the chipping program. And so I'm going to go ahead and do that if I've been given permission. And I believe I have. Let's see here. Yeah, I'll go visual first because that works well for me. I'm a pretty visual person. Like I said, the swirl ties in with visual. I do have a linear table format I'm going to show in a moment. But the chipping program is our small scale or easily attainable or reachable program for the community. I'm going to step backwards into 2 zones. We have these community wildfire prevention cost share grants that we offer to the community. And then with the last 2018 ballot measure that was approved, we have what we call the Strong Future Fund. And countywide, that funds 5 different initiatives, but one of them is wildfire prevention. So we actually have about $1 million, depends on valuation and treasurer fees and whatnot, but we are supporting large scale fuel reduction forest health projects across the landscape. So mostly we're working with Dillon Ranger District on those. They're the large landholder here. The sun just came and hit me in the face. Sorry. So I'll make it even. Large scale, Strong Future Fund. Moderate scale is the grant programs, cost share, and we have fuel reduction, and we have everything else that supports community protection. We call that the Community Wildfire Protection Plan grant program. And that would be installing cisterns where there is no water. Bill's Ranch, the Bill's Ranch neighborhood, we did a signage installation because not every road is appropriately signed. And so that would help emergency responders get to where they need to go. Up in Ptarmigan, we had graded roads for egress. We've entertained bridge retrofit, that kind of thing. So grant money is available for whatever people can conceive of. But here we go on the chipping program. The small scale, easily attainable doesn't require a reimbursement program. You don't have to bring money up front. You also don't have to communicate or coordinate with your neighbors in order to participate in something. This is free, and we basically invite the community members to put their own sweat equity into cutting branches, cutting trees, beginning the process of defensible space. And I say it with emphasis because it's an ongoing process. And this is meant to be a nudge. We don't take everything. But basically, if you put flammable vegetation curbside on your designated week, we drive down every road, and if there's a pile out, we take it. We don't have an RSVP program, and other communities. I talked to some folks from Jefferson County earlier today, and also within Summit County. Why don't you have an RSVP? And the real reason is that we know that greater than 60% of our built environment of the homes, residences are unoccupied or they are absentee owner. So then we end up having VRBO and rentals, and people that occupy at that level don't have any way to manage the land. They're not going to cut the owner's tree down. That would actually be theft of services or illegal, right? So it's stealing a commodity. So we don't RSVP it, but we advertise the heck out of it so that if you're an absentee homeowner and you come visit Frisco, you'll say, oh yeah, it's my week. And you don't have to call and set it up. You just put it curbside. So, hey, over time, let's see, I'm going to move our pictures. I've had Frisco sitting here. Hopefully no one's gotten bored with the fact that your town is highly participatory in this program, which I applaud you. I appreciate you all for not only having Gilly, who introduced me. She sits on the Summit County Wildfire Council. Andy Held is also actively participating, and as representatives of you all. But I lost my track. So anyway, you've been looking at your town and you're doing a great job here. And I've got this frequency clicked here. And so all these years of participation, the light yellow is a parcel that put wood out one time. We've had 7 years behind us under our belts. I've been on board the entire time. And I will say every single Monday before the crew starts doing their work, we run around the entire service area and track every home that puts wood curbside. So if I see a pile, I make note of the resident address. And that's how we get this 7 years later. And it's really important. And the metric tracking is so important because of grants. And the Wildfire Council gets to review whether or not this is a program that continues to meet a need. And we see that it does. So I always started saying color. You can see it on the right. Light yellow is one time. But if we get up to deep red, that parcel put wood out for however many years is listed. Deep red is 7. So I have a few parcels there. It's across the street from the middle school. It's called 10 Mile Estates, maybe. Anybody know what that's called? It's county, but it looks like it's in your town. Right here.
Frisco Heights.
Frisco Heights. I had the name completely wrong. But we have parcels, owners there that are putting wood out 7 years in a row. So I'm going to unclick this and take us on a walk. And by the way, the whole point of me coming to your meeting tonight is I just wanted to highlight what your residents are doing. And then I'm going to take us back a little and show you how Summit County as a whole are supporting each other community-wide, county-wide through this program. So let's see here. I'm going to do an annual starting with 2014. It's red. We're just going to get a picture and see if I can drag us down a touch of how things grew. That didn't highlight. Oh, here it comes. You all can see red, right?
Correct.
And then we have 2015 as an overlay real quickly. If the next year in line is a parcel that participated again, the previous color will be buried. There we go. 2015. Oh, also bottom right, maybe Bill's Ranch, it's county kind of area. If wood gets put out on a parcel anywhere, even if it's one stick, the entire parcel lights up. So there's some fudging that we need to do here. Just another point of reference. Our grant programs are community-wide or contiguous properties, maybe 3 to 12 if we could get that many. And that's defensible space adjacency, and that's ultra important. One home can burn all the other houses down. So if you've got one home in a community that is not mitigated, could be bad news. And what we look at this program as is infill. The chipping program is catching a lot of those homes that maybe weren't able to be part of a bigger cost share program. And that's a good thing. And here comes infill. I'll walk us a little quicker. I just really believe this program is doing great things for all of Summit County, primarily on the education front. I'm an educator. I was hired to communicate with the public, but to me, this is an evaluation loop. And it's, how do you know if any messages hit home if you just put messages out there? And we do that from the very beginning. We just kind of inundated. We're using the movie theater, the mobile billboard, which is the bus, highway signs. We're on the radio. We're on TV. Where else can you see us? We had banners out. Social media these days. But I have no idea if anybody knows or heard that message until it makes its way around. And I know they heard the message and they internalized it because they thought about what it meant. And I know both of those things happened because of this map. They acted on it. And the action that we track is the loop connected. And so thanks for listening to my story. That's at least how I justify all this. All right, little walk around. You also know some of those large scale projects are occurring, for instance, outside of Miners Creek, right? That's a Forest Service project, and it's really going to become an aspen enhancement. I know early on it's somewhat ugly and disconcerting when our local trails are nuked. Sorry to say it like that, but actually none of this is along those lines. It's not that invasive. It's not that dramatic. feels it because it was our overstory little trail. But when we look on the landscape scale across the White River National Forest, a little hit along the Miners Creek Trail or Ophir Mountain, those are bigger tracks. That's actually not so big across the whole scale, and it's really good for forest health.
Hey, Dan, I just want to make sure we have plenty of time for council questions as well. And we slotted you for 15 minutes. So I just want to.
And I'm going way on and on.
Yeah. I
won't show any more maps. You get it. What Frisco looks like is what everybody else looks like. I would love to entertain some questions.
And remind us again, the funding for this was in that last round. So it's for how many more years do we have that?
Yeah, thank you. That put me back on track here. So funding was originally approved by voters in 2008 and it's sunset in 2023, next fall. But we re-put, that same measure was put before the voters again, and it asked for an in perpetuity, a no sunset date, and it was approved. So this program is funded by that ballot measure, that pot of money, and it's never going to end. So we have about $500,000, and then we start peeling off some overhead. So we look at maybe about $350,000 a year that supports grants and chipping.
Fantastic. Thank you. Andrew, and then go ahead.
Dan, two things. One is thank you for what you're doing. I happen to be in Sonoma right now, and the last time I was here was 2017 when it was on fire. And anybody who thinks that I-70 is a protective barrier from a real fire for us has never been to where I am and seen what I've seen. So this is real. But my question is, especially since you've gone over how you drive around and do, see who's pro, or I guess you're kind of reactive. If I put my stuff on the curb, you're going to take it away. Do we have a desire to be proactive and as you're driving around, start to flag lots that are dangerously loaded with fire like we do up in the natural areas, to be able to have some enforcement capability to require people to clear their debris from their lots? Do we have anything like that, and should we?
And thank you for bringing that up. The should is dicey, it's political, and we don't. We are in the Wild West here in Colorado. Private property rights rule, and there aren't any legislative teeth sitting out there that would require a landowner to do any particular thing on their property, unless you have an HOA or a governing body that says you can't have broken cars down or whatever it is. But we can't make people cut trees or create defensible space. But we can
if we pass a law that says they have to, but that's
right.
Our job. That's what I'm asking.
And that's your job, and that's a different arena. And some HOAs like Wilderness, they do have criteria at the Willowbrook Metro District, and they can make people cut trees down. Town of Breckenridge does as well. So we encourage, I was about to say, we use verbal judo, and we say to people, don't be the one that burns your entire neighborhood down, that kind of thing. But we're not really overt about the ones that aren't getting along. I try to use a positive by association, like these maps, where don't you want to look like your neighbor? Oh, and by the way, when you cut a few trees down, it doesn't look ugly. Look at your neighbor. It's working out pretty well. So we try to lead with carrots is the other part.
Thanks, Dan. Thanks, Andrew. Other questions for Dan? All right, fantastic. Well,
yeah.
Hopefully the moisture we're getting now will help a little bit, but as Gilly referenced, we're shaping up for a dicey summer. So I hope we don't have to bring you back to give us any more updates on what we didn't do.
Yeah. So there it is from the county side of things. Thank you so much for giving me the floor this evening, and have a wonderful summer, everybody.
Appreciate it, Dan. Thank you. Thanks for all you do. Moving on to work session agenda item number 2, and this is the Main Street Promenade discussion. And I will turn it over to Nancy to get us started.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor and Council. So we have a team of folks here to present to you tonight. I'd like them all to jump on and turn on their videos. As you know, just in the report, I have quite a few team members who've been assigned to take on different aspects of the promenade. This has been before you before. We're bringing it back as you directed to give you an update on the plan to implement the promenade. I know you have a lot of questions, and so we're going to take it a bit how we did in the report. We're going to start off with Jeff and the traffic and infrastructure. Then we're going to head on over to Dawn. I believe Freimer is next, and then to Vanessa. And then we'll come back for more questions of council. You're certainly welcome to ask the questions on different elements as we go through it, or wait till the end and take it all at once. What we're hoping to get from you tonight is clear direction to go forward with a start date. I know some of you I've chatted with and texted with that have various ideas about that start date. So let's get clear about a start date, and then also a go, no go approach, or if there's some key features you want us to be paying attention to that we might have missed. So with that, I'll start off with Jeff. Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy. Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm sure you've read the report, but
Jeff, it's a bit hard to hear you. Yeah, there you go. Okay, good.
Oh,
Gotcha.
I'm sorry. My internet might be a little goofy over here. It's snowing pretty good. Anyway, I'm sure you've read the report. I just want to go to some highlights. We have purchased some traffic calming devices for Granite Street. As we were working with CDOT, trying to figure out the best way to alleviate traffic issues as much as we can that are the promenade and also associated with the GAP project. We were trying to figure out how we can get folks that aren't necessarily going to the promenade or stopping on Main Street. They're just going through Main Street to get to Highway 9, how we can get them going in the right direction and keep everybody kind of flowing in the same direction with all the work that's going to be going on with CDOT. So we've purchased some equipment. We've got some speed limit signs that we're going to put on Granite, and they show you your speed, and then they have little fancy red and blue lights that they'll flash when you're speeding. We also have purchased some variable message signs that will direct people with actual messages saying, okay, if you're kind of traveling through here, you need to go this way. Parking for the promenade is going to be on 3rd and Granite and other various locations along the avenues. We're going to be putting out signs to get people to kind of slow down at the intersections where there's no stop signs. So I think that we've got some plans based on whatever council decides how they want the promenade to look. We can do full closure of parking and just parklets. None of that. I mean, we can do just basically anything that council decides we're ready for that we think, you know, you're thinking about. So I think it's going to be a much better summer than last summer as far as traffic on Granite, because I know that was a huge concern for many citizens that live along that road. But I believe we have the proper signage and plans to keep people slowing down, paying attention to what they're doing, and not just flying down Granite as a thoroughfare through town. Again, we've worked closely with CDOT because of all their work that's going to be at Main Street and Highway 9. They are not closing that road. They will be reducing lanes and kind of making it a little skinny for their work. But what we want to try to do is get people that are just traveling through Frisco to go around and not bunch up traffic at Main Street and Highway 9, because that intersection is going to get very busy and it's going to be a third smaller than it is now. So, you know, with that being said, we're still working on parklets. We've got railings that we're putting up. On the parklets, we've ordered more barrels. We've got more lights. We're getting sunshades for the different areas on the parklets. So we are moving forward as if we're going to get this thing set up. So we're ready for whatever council decides.
Great. Thanks, Jeff. Nancy, are you good if I just make sure to see if the council has any specific questions for each?
Yeah, however you want to do that.
Yeah. Anybody questions for Jeff and his team on the public works aspect to Coach? Nope. All right. Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you.
All right, so Jeff covered a lot of the traffic movement around the promenade, outside of the promenade, and how we might do that. I'm going to address some of the more operational things on the layout and some of the things we learned from last year and how we're going to try to address those this year. I think one of the biggest concerns that we heard about from the public, business owners, visitors, whatever, was concerns about the speed of bicyclists heading through Main Street heading through the promenade and potential safety issues related to that. And as we do need to maintain, if we set up the promenade, a fire lane. Fire department has required that, so we are going to retain that again. But in order to slow bicycles down, we did learn, obviously last year, just signage did not work. So we are going to put some more physical barriers. There's called bicycle chicanes, and this is essentially a structure where a bicycle will have to come to nearly a complete stop in order to maneuver through it in order to get through and continue on. So in the absence of real strict enforcement of bicycle speeds and through the bike lane, this is about the only other thing that we can do for that. We're also looking at business spaces as well. We did hear from several business owners that they had concerns that the business next door may have expanded their area in front of their space, and that was impacting how they were serving. Again, since it was a learning thing, and we were really just trying to make sure that we gave as many businesses as much space as possible so that they could operate. We heard those concerns, and for this year, we are only going to assign spaces in the immediate front of each business, unless there's explicit permission from the adjacent property owner. And one other concern that was brought up is outdoor music. And a lot of these occupancy restrictions and limitations due to COVID and social distancing and things like that are to limit the opportunity for gatherings. Outdoor music obviously encourages gatherings. So one of the things that we are including into our licenses that are required for each business that's either utilizing public space, whether it's a parklet or whether it's the town right of way, is that there's no allowance or no opportunity for projecting or performing live amplified music within that public space. So that is something that we are thinking will help reduce the opportunity and the ability for people to just gather for a purpose like that. With that, I will turn it over to Vanessa, who I believe is going to talk about some of the aesthetic enhancements as well as some of the outreach that we did in advance of that in order to gather some information.
Mayor, if that's okay.
Yep, that's good.
Okay, Mayor and Council, thank you so much. I'm going to talk about some other feedback that we received. Last year, we heard from quite a few people about the ways that we can make the promenade look nicer. We heard it again in that survey that happened earlier this winter. And what we heard is, it was great that it happened as quickly as it did last summer, but boy, it could have looked a little friendlier. One of the things we heard was the metal rack used to delineate liquor license areas, which makes a ton of sense. Businesses need to control their liquor license area. So the town provided that fencing. It was maybe not as lovely as it could be. So that is something that Public Works is very competently addressing. People always, we only have 4 months of summer, maybe generously. People want to see flowers and more of them. So Public Works is committed to having more flower planters as well. And we also heard from people, hey, we'd love to have some more passive places where we can just sit and have some shade. So having more colorful sunshades over some areas is also something that will be tackled, as well as more string lighting against that like kind of Larimer Square delightful effect that stayed on Main Street. And then public art as well. So Make Frisco has been incredible about advocating for public art. And so the approach is really multi-pronged. One is a commissioned mural at the intersection of Main and 4th Avenue. Another one is the Make Frisco group taking the art that they're already doing and transferring that onto like a flexible board that would be affixed to those barricades just to make them look much more delightful. And then also a community art project to plant a sailboat. Marina actually identified, along with Nora Gilbertson, that there was a sailboat that had been abandoned, and now the police department is helping. It's pretty complicated, helping with the title on that sailboat. So actually the community could get together and at the bump out at 3rd and Main do a community art project with that sailboat. All of those things adding to the character and quirky culture on Main Street, and just adding to those aesthetic enhancements in a really authentic way. Signage and wayfinding, we definitely learned things last year about that. One is just placemaking, making sure people understand that they're entering a pedestrian promenade and that they will find lodging and dining and retail there. And also making sure that we encourage people to continue to explore beyond the promenade, because we well know that there are businesses beyond there. So providing some breadcrumbs to do that. And then there are some businesses that inherently rely on automobile access, lodging businesses, and we provided wayfinding from Granite and Galena for those lodging businesses. And that's something that we are proposing to continue to do. In terms of the outreach that happened, there was a more formal survey that happened. It was not scientific sampling earlier this winter, and those results have been presented to you several times. And then also the second round was an email from Don Reimer asking businesses specifically whether or not they planned to use the promenade, and whether or not they plan to use the promenade if there were public health orders. And what we resoundingly heard is, yes, we would plan to use it, but people were fairly clear that they would think that it might not be as useful if public health orders are completely rolled back. So that is what we heard. The information is available in the report. Please let me know if you have any questions.
Thanks, everybody. So we're ready to roll this out. We're thinking in June. I know some council would like it later in June. Really, the date is up to you. We think getting it up and going before 4th of July makes the most sense. We don't have any better information on public health orders yet as to what is going to be required at the time. There's been some also discussion about what we should require. So we'd really love to hear from council at this point about your thoughts on the promenade today.
Thanks, Nancy and staff. Does anybody have specific questions for staff? And I know, Dan, I see you unmuted. Yeah, go ahead, Dan.
In terms of traffic, this one goes to, I've got a couple. Jeff, in terms of traffic calming, I'm hearing people not necessarily along Granite, but we're not, and it's important to remember, we're not replacing cars, we're displacing them. We're not replacing traffic, we're displacing traffic. And people are going to be looking for ways to get around it. If we slow it down on Granite, I'm curious what other measures you might be using along Granite and maybe other places. Thinking, I live on the other side of town, Miners Creek. I expect to see a lot more traffic moving very quickly along Miners Creek, trying to find alternative routes, however they're guided. Have you looked into things like, temporary speed bumps? Any other areas in town where you're concerned about that traffic displacement in neighborhoods that are not typically seeing that kind of, typically not seeing that kind of associated high level of traffic?
Yeah, Councilmember Fallon, we have looked at that, and we have looked at temporary speed bumps, and that's not something that we have fully decided on yet. However, on the periphery areas of the core area, you will be seeing more like of those signs that actually really do work. Yield for pedestrians as they're crossing the street, and you put those in the middle of the street, it kind of gets people's attention, gets them slowed down. And I think also with the variable message boards that we have, they also have radar on them and traffic counting devices on them, so that we can set those up to tell people their speed and remind them to slow down. We also have the speed trailer of the police departments that we can put out there. So we have thought of other ways of doing it. However, some of the right of way is very limited, especially like out at Miners Creek, not the right of way, but the area where folks drive, and then areas on the side of the road where we're able to place signs that make sense. So this really is for lack of a better term, it's a very fluid plan that we're going to be able to move around and implement here and implement there wherever the issues arise. But our primary concern, of course, was Granite Street and Galena as well. because people are gonna find their way around that road as well. So I think with the proper wayfinding signs and getting people to parking, if we replace parking on Main Street with parklets, then we're gonna get people to where they wanna be, parking close by. I also think that parking will be allowed along Granite, and I think that will also slow traffic down. I think parked cars have a way of kind of getting people to slow down and pay more attention. But our plan and the amount of signage we have and some of the, like you said, temporary speed bumps and other signs we can put out, I think that we're going to be very fluid and move this around as we need to where we see problems.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate you indicating how fluid it's going to be. We don't know where the pressure is going to show up, and having having the tools to address that as it pops up, I think is important. So thank you. I appreciate the entire staff in terms of the report and the work and the effort that's gone into preparing for Promenade. I really want to give kudos to everybody on the staff who've worked so hard to try and anticipate the problems that we're going to have again this year, based on specifically on what we saw last year. So thank you for the teamwork. Question for Don with regards to outdoor music. To be clear, in terms of outdoor amplified music, could the parklets be used as to host amplified music if the music is projected back to the venue? For example, hypothetically speaking, if the Moose Jaw wanted an electrified duo in their parklet and they projected it back to the Jaw, encouraging people congregating on their premises, is that a problem? Because I see the problem being music being projected out into the promenade. And that confluence, the cacophony of competing sounds and music along the promenade being not being an ideal situation. So, I'm trying to understand how the wording is in terms of amplified music. If it's inside, like it normally would be, and not projected outside through a window or door, okay, of course. But how else could those parklets be utilized if they wanted to utilize them to project it back towards their place? Is that something that can be considered, or is all that amplified music in the public space prohibited?
So good questions. And as we learned last year, and the idea of this is this isn't to create an event. It's to allow additional space for businesses to operate in order to meet the occupancies limits that were put on by public health orders. And we found that congregations really did happen as a result of public music. We saw it at a number of different businesses last year. So the way it was drafted is that there would be no amplified music allowed at all on the public space, or projecting into the public space. So that's the short answer to your other question. Could we revise that? Certainly. I would have some concerns though that setting up amplified music on the parklet and trying to project it back towards the business would have a very similar effect as if it was just being projected, or not being projected anywhere, just being on the parklet itself. I think it'd be a very difficult thing to control.
I wanted to be clear about the rationale and what we're trying to accomplish, and I wanted to make sure that that's articulated, because I think people are going to have some different ideas about the efficacy of that. So the couple more questions to communal dining. I did notice, I don't know if anybody worked together on communal dining area last year. I'm not sure how that worked out. If it's indicated in the communal dining and in the procedures there that anybody at a particular table is supposed to get food and alcohol from one licensee or one retail establishment. If someone is just getting food from, again, hypothetically, if there's somebody selling, we create the hot dog truck and they're just selling food sitting in that communal dining area, but somebody wants to get a beer from another place, is that prohibited?
Yeah, the state's regulations are very explicit about how they will let the communal dining locations happen. And they say one table, one vendor.
Okay.
I
So
think we
if it's
could
food
add to
on
that
the
a little bit.
table-
Councilmember Fallon, somebody could go get a beer and try to walk away. We'd have to stop them. Somebody could go get a meal and go sit on a park bench. And so the alcohol is very different than the meal side of it.
Yeah, I'm looking at from a customer standpoint. If I don't know what's going on and I've just bought a hot dog and I'm sitting at a table in the communal dining area and there's a bar and I see people drinking, that may not necessarily be clear to them. The whole idea of communal dining to me is problematic from a control standpoint, but that's not, last question. I noticed in the staff report, the one glaring omission to me was any allusion to parking enforcement outside. So last year there was none, at least according to many of the retailers I spoke to outside the venue. If the promenade moves forward, I'd like to know if there's a plan for parking enforcement. Is it going to be 2 hours or 3 hours? What are we going to be doing to moving people along on Main Street? You know, I'm talking about from 5th to 7th, you know, and on the other side and on the side streets to the degree that there's going to be parking. How are we approaching parking enforcement if the promenade moves forward?
Chief Wickman has joined us, and so I'll turn it over to Chief.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Can you see me?
No,
Why not?
not sure, Chief. There we go. Kind of.
Coming in focus.
Yeah, he's been in an accident. It's okay.
Dan, to your specific question about talking about Main Street. Dan?
Yes, he was.
Well, obviously we can't run the LPR vehicle down that with the promenade intact.
Side streets, parking. Can you describe how your parking enforcement was last year? And yes, Chief has been in a terrible accident. That's why he was in a bike accident. That's why you see all that.
We enforced that. We wrote a lot of parking tickets. Obviously, those vehicles that were the first time offenses was a warning. I don't have the numbers specifically, but I would say less than 40 tickets were written on the side streets last summer. I also wanted to let you know, Dan, that we did a traffic count at 4th and Granite, and there were 450 cars going through there per hour. So there is a lot of traffic, and I would say that Granite takes the main bulk of it.
Was that traffic count done last summer? When was
Yes.
that done? Okay.
July and August.
So Dan, I think you're frozen.
Yeah, it looks like Dan might be.
Jesse did have her hand up.
Yeah, and I think we'll go to and hopefully Dan gets unfrozen and doesn't. If he has more questions, we'll come back to. Are you back, Dan? Oh, lost Dan for a little bit. Jesse, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. Don, in your presentation, you mentioned about the live music that the intent was to avoid gatherings, and then in answering Dan's question, it sounded to me to be a little different in that we don't want to try and create an event. How do we reconcile not allowing businesses live music with the fact that we are doing concerts in the park, for example, and encouraging gatherings? Well, I'm not necessarily advocating for live music. How do we justify that, I guess, and what's the message there?
Sure. Thanks, Council Member. That's a great question, actually. And I would say the biggest difference is that in the ticketed events, such as the concerts in the park, they are going to be ticketed, and there's going to be an opportunity to control occupancy. When it's just on the street, there's not that opportunity to control that occupancy. Vanessa, do you have anything to add maybe on the concerts in the park?
I think I do in general, because you and Deborah and I had a fairly long conversation about this. And the idea really being, we used one particular business as an example. They could still use their patio to put amplified music. We're not controlling that. It's not public space. It is their property. And then other ordinance take effect, such as a noise ordinance. Part of the discussion was that we heard feedback from people on the promenade and businesses on the promenade that there was a little bit of a sound battle happening. And when you have amplified music, that's much more likely to happen than the singer-songwriter on a guitar. So yeah, while gatherings, we don't want massive gatherings if there's still a sound, if there's still a public health ordinance. What I would say though is a major concern was the feedback that we heard from people about kind of that clash of noise. In terms of how do you reconcile that with a concert in the park? You know, it's really up to council to decide if we want to, based on what the public health orders will be, have gatherings even of that type. But the way we're trying to mitigate that with concerts in the park is obviously doing fencing and ticketing. That's not as a possibility, obviously, on the promenade.
You still there, Jesse? Is that?
Yeah, sorry. There's dogs and trash trucks. It's chaos here. Yes, that's sufficient. Thank you for your answer.
Thanks. Andrew, are you ready? Go for it.
So just two questions. One is, I'm a little bit confused. There was a lot on communal dining, but I didn't see a proposal that we're addressing of, are we having, like, I view communal dining as kind of a space in the middle of this somewhere that people can take their stuff and just sit and enjoy. It's controlled by the town, not controlled by one of the restaurants or businesses. So maybe I'm misinterpreting what communal dining is, but why would we do that as opposed to just allowing the expanded space to be controlled by the individual businesses? The other question I just want to make sure of is anything we're talking about for music is only for restaurants or retailers even that are utilizing the promenade. If you're 10 Mile or Ollie's or Tavern West, you're under the rules that we've had in place for however many years, and none of this conversation about having live music on their outdoor space is affected by any of this conversation, right?
That's right.
Yes.
So regarding communal dining, Deborah, you mentioned it earlier. You might want to restate a couple of things. And it's really related to each business. I don't know if you wanted to jump in, Deborah.
I was asked to provide information regarding what the state is allowing currently as opportunities. And communal dining is an opportunity, if council is interested in proceeding with it, that allows food establishments and alcohol establishments to gather as a shared space. And the intent of it was to give those kinds of businesses more seating. So it is controlled by them. That's what the state is requiring of these modification of premises. It's still an application that the licensees are submitting, not the town.
So we are not suggesting that. She's just providing that's an opportunity if the council wants to give us that direction. Right now, the way it is, its promenade would look very much like it did last year in terms of structure. If people wanted the space, they could have the space identified, get the approval, we sign off on it. They can use parklets, the lighting, all of that is provided by us, but they must stay within their designated space unless the council wants us to consider a communal space.
Okay, I'll talk about it, but we didn't have communal space last year, right?
No, we did not. No.
Okay.
I'm not even sure they would have allowed that last year.
Rick?
Cool. Hey, gang. Thanks, Hunter. So I just want to be clear. The public health order by the county that I'm referencing is dated from the 16th. Is there anything newer than that available?
I don't think so. I think that was the last, was that Friday the 16th? Yep, that's
just
the
want
last
to
one.
be clear before I go down. I have a number of thoughts. A 5-star. What does that look like if you have businesses that are of differing occupancy levels operating side by side?
It's a good one.
No one is going to regulate that.
It's something that's already happening right now, Councilman Incan. It's already happening. And it's likely that by that point, the county would be at level green. And at level green, the 5-star program goes away. And the county has predicted that that would likely happen by, interestingly, exact date, May 27th. So it's likely that we will not be in a 5-star situation by then.
Right. So thanks, Vanessa. And I'm right. So we're referencing the same material. Without going through a list of thoughts, but just that the question is, I guess my question to the group to cut to my final as opposed to going it down point by point is, if we're at level green, are we going to do the promenade, period?
That's a good question.
That's my question.
I think, yeah, Rick, I think we'll get there after we hear public comment and then get back to the discussion and give direction. So, but that's my question too. So I think that's a good one.
Okay.
I would just add to Councilmember Incan's question, the town is required to enforce the level that each business is at.
Other specific questions before I open up to public comment? Dan, go ahead. And then Melissa, sorry. Or Melissa, how about?
Last time. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're breaking up a little bit, but we can hear you.
We're good?
Yep.
All right. When the state moved away from their dashboard, the dial, what's the intent? And I don't know if this is a Deborah question or Vanessa. What's the intent on keeping the extended licensing provisions in place throughout if we move to 100% opening beyond just the county level versus the state level?
What's
Will
the
state
intent of
continue to
having the
maintain-
license? It's an option.
No. Will they continue to allow the provision for the extended licensing out, the extended permit, the premises?
Deborah has the answer.
Yeah.
She's in touch with it.
I understand what you're asking, Dan. Currently, the state does not have an intention to discontinue the modification of premise option as long as there is a statewide emergency. So they don't have a close date yet, and they won't until they establish that there's no longer a reason to have emergency regulations concerning the pandemic.
Okay, good question. I hadn't thought about that. Melissa.
Just a quick question, kind of, it may segue into comments and feedback, but it's been raised, the question about parking in front of retail establishments and the availability of parking on certain ends of Main Street. Is there a reason why we can't do something similar to what we did for pickup situations for the restaurants in those areas of town for the retail customers that are either picking something up or just need to run into a store for 20 minutes? Has that been considered? And I don't know if that's a Nancy question or Jeff, but maybe one of you could help out.
We can do that. The 10 minutes drop off. We had those signs. Public Works did a great job getting those signs out. We got them in place. The difficulty with it, or I will just say the facts of it is it's a suggestion because it's not in our code. It's not,
I see.
Yeah, so it's not an enforceable limit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so, but that's how the pickup signs technically were. It's a pretty
same thing. And
strong
people followed it.
suggestion. Yeah, people follow it. Okay.
A little bit, yeah.
Okay.
By the middle of
thanks.
summer, or end of summer, they sort of stopped following it.
Okay.
Thanks. Well, obviously I have plenty of time for more questions if they come up, but I'd like to turn it over to public comment. So Todd, this is your chance. I know, but again, if you can keep your comments to 3 minutes, and I appreciate
3 minutes. I practiced earlier and I got
I gave you time.
It felt super awkward to be in the middle of that whole thing where everyone was being like, with Nancy leaving. And so I'm glad that this is a public comment. So anyway, I gotta be honest, great job, staff. I mean, amazing job. And I love what you guys came up with, and forgive me for hoping that all of your hard work is all for nothing. I did, earlier say that it just seems like the 88%, if 88% of people really want to be inside the promenade, then, you're leaving the scraps and that remaining 12% people for all these remaining businesses. Like I said, I've been told it'll bring people to Frisco, so all businesses will reap the benefits. But, especially with all these restrictions going away, and we all know they're going away. So, we can't really hide behind COVID, but I mean, Greco's, Fifth Avenue, Begali's, Butterhorn, triple, quadruple the amount of their normal outdoor capacities. And, they're able to accommodate, the promenade's gonna be able to accommodate all 88% of those people without a wait. And so those 88% of people are gonna have no reason to leave the promenade. And, like I was starting to say is, not a lot of you are business owners, but you're all homeowners. And while the business part of it may not resonate with you, I tried to figure out a residential comparison. And the best I could come up with was what if the town decided, for whatever reason, to increase property taxes or whatever, to give every other town in Frisco one free addition. And they start at the first house on the street and build a free bedroom for them. And then the next house doesn't get anything. And the next house maybe gets a free 2-car garage, and the next house gets nothing, and so on and so forth down the line. If you're one of these homes that doesn't get an addition, think about that. It'll make it harder to compete with your neighbor. If there was an average real estate market, your property value could plummet while your neighbors skyrocket. This is literally, I mean, I couldn't imagine any one of you voting for that, being homeowners, and knowing that you could be screwing 50% of the homeowners and maybe even yourself. And to me, with a vote for the promenade, you're essentially giving 50% of the restaurants in town free additions onto their businesses. And that's why I came up with that comparison. As a side note, poor Uptown, they paid millions for their recent addition. Listen, our town is one whose residents and everyone here loves being social. It's why I was able to be, somewhat successful in the years before COVID. And the appeal of hanging out on a charming street with a gorgeous view, and mass amounts of like-minded people hanging out with you, that's never going to go away. And the idea of the promenade is never going to go away. It's why barbecue, 4th of July have traditionally always been the busiest days of the year in Frisco. But, it's really up to you guys to put the surveys aside and decide if you want to experiment with mine and other business owners' bank accounts and livelihoods just to party in the streets this summer and for however many more summers. Or maybe you guys could just decide to return the town to what it was like in 2019, because we all really seemed to enjoy it back then, in my opinion. So that's what I have to say.
Thanks, Todd. I appreciate it. And thanks for being here.
Mm-hmm.
Any other public comment? You can use the raise your hand feature. I have one that was emailed to the town website that I will read onto the record if there's no one else. All right, give me a second. I received this from our website, and it's dear Frisco Town Council members. We wanted to reach out to you all again. Sorry, I'll start. This is Kim Nearpass, business owner on Main Street. Reach out to all of you again before the summer season gets back in full swing regarding our ongoing noise issue. We're hoping to be proactive and avoid repeated conflict with our Main Street neighbors. Below is a letter I sent to Town Council last July. We're hoping for some improvement and positive direction. Please let me know if you have any suggestions or town regulations that may be of help to us as well as our neighbors, as well as other neighbors of the Foot property. Sincerely, Kim Nearpass. Attached, the letter sent 7/7 of 2020. I'm writing in regards to the noise levels generated by the music at Foot's Rest. My husband, Justin Pollock, and I have operated our small retail shop and clinic at 507 Main Street since 2012. And at least the past 5 years, every summer we've had ongoing issues with Foot business. You are probably aware Foot's Rest puts up a tent and has live music almost every day of the week. Some days starting as early as 10 a.m. The music is loud, irritating, disruptive to the point where we cannot have our front door or windows open on beautiful summer days. We distinctly hear the music, even in the back room of our building. Don't get me wrong, I love music and enjoying listening to live music. However, it's painful to hear some loop songs, for example, Puff the Magic Dragon, over and over again with the volume that makes it difficult to concentrate. Over the years, we have tried to be nice neighbors and make polite and admittedly sometimes not so polite requests for them to turn the music down. We've talked with the managers, owners, employees, and musicians countless times. Sometimes the volume goes down for a short while, and oftentimes it does not. Justin and I have met with the owner, Kelly Foote, and trying to explain our predicament. Nothing changes. The Foote seem unapologetically set and carrying on as usual with no regard for how it impacts neighboring businesses. This summer, according to the Town of Frisco website, we've tried different approach and taken your advice to call the Frisco Police Dispatch number 3 times. The officers have been very polite and helpful on the phone, but unfortunately each time they're not able to respond before the music ended or the musician took a break. So far as I know, they've not been able to get the noise reading. On June 30th, I went across the street to talk to owners once again. Mother Foote had a decibel reader in her hand and showed me that the music was at 55 decibels. I was shocked at how loud 55 decibels is. I have no way to be certain that her meter is correct, but if it is, I would encourage the town to reevaluate the noise ordinance. According to the town website, from 7 a.m. to 11 p.m., the noise limit is commercial noise zone is 70 decibels. If the Foote's rest noise level is truly only 55 decibels, I cannot imagine 70 decibels. Not all businesses are social party-like atmosphere, and it would be nearly impossible to work with that level of noise all day long. Our massage clients and patients find it difficult to relax, and we find it difficult to concentrate and stay calm. Perhaps the town might reevaluate the ordinance in consideration of the diversity of commercial residential community members. Would you consider more of a tiered ordinance, maybe keeping lower noise levels from 7 a.m. until afternoon happy hour, like 3 or 4 p.m.? I appreciate your reading on and would be open to any suggestions or ideas that you all have. I hate to bother you with this, but we are getting to our wits' end with Foote's Rest. Sincerely, Kim Near Pass, owner, Mountain River Naturopathic and Backcountry Herbal Apothecary. So add that to the public record, and thank you for submitting that on the website. Any other public comment? Seeing, and I'll close public comment and back to Johnny, yeah, go ahead.
Just real quickly to state on support of the promenade. And Todd, I appreciate your words and resonate with you as well. For those of you that are not distinctly in that area, the one thought I have is coming out of COVID, we aren't guaranteed to be at full capacity by those times. And I know that this is not that the promenades would be a yearly decision. And due to the feedback we got last year, even if it's for this summer, I think it would be a great benefit to the town. And then maybe next year things are the quote unquote, we're back to normal. And maybe it had its run at that point. But I just wanted to put a comment in favor of it as well. Thank you. I appreciate all the work, Council and Hunter, you guys have done. Thanks.
Thanks, John. Appreciate that. So Council, I think Rick said it best, and I think I'm going to go back around to where Rick kind of left off, or I cut him off. I'm not sure which that was. I apologize if I did, Rick. But I think the two things we really need to figure out is and Nancy put them in a different order, but it's the kind of a go, no go criteria that Rick was talking about, and then a start date. And for me, I personally think we don't know what the summer will be. I hope we are at green going into it. I think if May 27th is the day that the county has a crystal ball that has told us something, then I'm all for it. And let's move ahead with getting back to normal. But we don't know that. And we've seen spikes, we've seen health issues, we had concerns. And I think if we don't have the ability to implement this plan as it's been presented, which I think is thorough and professional and respectful, we don't necessarily have to do it, but we have it ready in case we need to. So I'm in support of moving forward with this, picking a date, planning on going ahead with that date, and maybe being wrong and being able to just say that life is back to some semblance of normal and we don't need it. So at this point, Rick, kind of answer your question. My question to the rest of council is, do you all support at least going forward with this plan? And then we need to come up with, what are the metrics, as Rick asked, that we say we don't need to do the promenade. But for me, we don't have a clear health guidelines, policy, crystal ball like the county seems to at this point. And I don't want to have a chance of not having a plan in place to implement. Melissa, go ahead. I saw your hand.
All right. Thank you, Hunter. I will just, first of all, thank you to everybody that provided feedback on this. This is a complicated one, but I just want to share my perspective. So for me, it comes down to well, first I'll say, I really believe this is a situation where a rising tide will raise all ships on our main street. And what the promenade did was create an atmosphere. It's an incredible draw for tourism, and we saw it as a place for people to relax last summer, where it was hard to find places like that. But also into this summer, where it won't be as intense of a COVID environment, it will still be a walkable, charming Main Street experience that's really hard to find, especially in the mountains. So for me, it really came down to the dates, the design, and the dynamic. And I didn't intentionally pick D's on that. But first on the dates, I want us to, I'm okay with, I think mid-June is appropriate to get things rolling. But I also think that we really, really need to closely monitor it. And I don't think, sorry, I have a child crying in the background. Hold on.
We can't hear.
I don't, oh, you can't hear that, okay. I don't think that, I think that dates should not be concrete, you know. Sorry guys, I don't know if you can hear that or not. Tantrum in the background.
No.
Okay, let me get my train of thought back. So I don't think we need to lock in like it must be June 5th through August 23rd. I think we really, really need to closely monitor, obviously the weather, but also the impacts and how things are going. I realize we need to commit on some level, and all of the work that's been put forth that was explained by staff is just so incredible that there is a level of, okay, we're in, that we need to decide if we're committed to this. And I do believe for at least the first month to 2 months, we're more or less committed, but we need to be dynamic. And last year we considered, you know, can you create openings in the closure? Can you adjust for additional parking? Things like that to really make it work. We need to do that. On the design, I just love everything that staff has put forth, and hearing all of it at once, my one concern is it being cluttered. That being said, I have great faith in what you all have what you put together last summer was outstanding. And I just know that this will take it to the next level. And so while it sounds like a lot sort of on paper, I think in implementation, you guys are going to nail it. So I can't wait to see the sunshades and the barrier covers and everything that you're doing. So that it will really bring it together and make it so lively. Of course, the art aspect of it, as you guys know, I love. And then I've already kind of spoke to it, but being dynamic and allowing us to be flexible. We're committed to this, but we need to respond accordingly as things come up, as the dial changes, as things open. I want to make sure that that is a message. I hear the feedback from Todd, from Mary Elaine. I hear that we're not saying that this is, you know, this is it, never going to change. I truly think that this is a bit of an experiment. It really worked last year. It's an innovation, and with innovation is a little bit of risk. And so we need to adjust as needed. I also just a couple more comments. In terms of the east side, we do get a lot of the comments from the east side where there still will be some parking, et cetera. And so I think that I would love to see some temporary retail parking available to those business owners. I think that if nothing else, it will alleviate the worry that people won't be able to reach their businesses. So I don't have a specific location in mind, but I'd really like to work with the people that have provided feedback and those types of concerns to look for places for maybe 2 30-minute spots that several businesses could benefit from. I think that I'm almost done here. One thing that I just have loved is the parklets, and to me, you know, Todd, to your point about going back to normal or what it was, I hope the parklets continue forever. I mean, we had a situation on Main Street. I've always loved our Main Street. It's been great. but at the same time, there has not been enough outdoor seating. And I think what we've demonstrated through gaining a little flexibility with how we set things up and plan and enforce, that you can really create something beautiful. So that's my feedback. I'm still in. I want to support this. I want to be dynamic and create something wonderful. So thank you.
Melissa, I've got you. Have you thought about a go, no go criteria for this? And where would you initially be?
I mean, in terms of the dial.
Yeah.
I think that's really, I'm gonna hold on that.
All right, that's fair.
For now.
That's
Yeah,
fair.
thanks.
Yep. Others, love to hear. Yeah, Andy, where you're at and what your go, no go criteria, or is just no go, whatever it might be.
Whatever it might be. Thank you, everyone and staff. And I hate to ask everyone to do a bunch of stuff and then end up saying that we're not going to do it. And sorry to have put you through that. Unfortunately, these are big questions and they require a lot of answers. And what staff has worked on has been attempting to answer all of that. And, and it's greatly appreciated. Personally, I will be, if we did the promenade, I would be there. I'll be there every day. I don't know if I'll see everybody else there, but I'll be there. But that's just me. I am going to stand up for the other businesses that feel they are adversely affected by us giving away commercial real estate to some businesses, especially in the situation we're going to be in the summer with the CDOT Summit Boulevard remodel. We've got the first 2 blocks of Main Street is going to be torn up. You think anybody's going to get parking there? Nobody's going to even get through. Everyone is going to come through my neighborhood on Miners Creek. And so, it gets me right back to we don't have the infrastructure to support this, right? If Granite was built out completely with bike lanes and everything else, that might be different. Same with Galena, as needing more infrastructure. If Summit Boulevard was complete, then we have some infrastructure to support it. At this point, we're looking to throw in a wrench into a traffic situation, which none of us can put our finger on. And CDOT is like, well, we'll do whatever, we're fine. That doesn't help at all. That's not the case. Summit Boulevard sees 30,000 cars a day, every single day on any given day, more and less, depending on. But we're setting ourselves up for serious failure. And when is the point to turn that around? COVID situation, I'm in Florida right now, and there is literally no restrictions. Every restaurant's packed. Nobody's wearing masks. It's the way it is. Their numbers aren't any worse than our numbers are, right? So as far as I see it, the county is going to have to follow suit with the governor's office and everybody else. And we're going to end up lightening our restrictions even more so because people are over the COVID situation. I see that as an inevitable direction of what's happening this summer. If we were going backwards and then all of a sudden we're shutting everybody down, that's a different story. And then it gets back to my original thing of if there is a perceived, if 12% of the businesses, and actually we had 33 businesses put in, 10 were unequivocal no's, 13 were, yeah, sure, let's do it. And the other 10 were on the fence. And that's very different than the 88% or whatever it was of the people visiting and enjoying it. So who gets hurt if we keep it open? You know, Johnny was on here. There are people inside his restaurant. I don't know how much more once the dial goes even looser, some of those would be able to handle. I can tell you the Boatyard can't handle more people on the street. They have enough space inside. Scooter doesn't necessarily have enough space. You know, so everybody's got a different situation that way. My point being is that our actions right here are going to be viewed adversely by a good number of businesses who have actually said that this can put me out of business. And where does that happen if we leave it all open? You know, and personally, again, I love it. It's a fun time and everything, and it's beautiful, and we love our Main Street and all. But, you know, we're not set up to be able to do this. And COVID world is completely different than it was last year. So I'm an unequivocal no on this. And, you know, I hope, you know, if everyone else decides to move forward, that we have some real metrics as far as to when to turn it off. Because as soon as we shut it down and you have everybody calling from Granite Street going, you're killing me here, and the cars are backed up from Main Street all the way to the other side to Town Hall, you know, when is the metric, where is the metric that we're going to be able to, we're going to remove it, right? We can't just be pie in the sky. Well, if, you know, if the dial goes backwards, then, you know, then that's what's going to put us there. Right now, we're not there. We were at 0% when we chose to do this. Nobody could sit anybody in their restaurant. And we were just scrambling to see what we could do to help whoever we could. And now there is a feeling of inequity going on between some businesses that you know, don't get to take advantage of it. Personally, you know, the parklets, I think they're great. I think it was a good idea. You know, we got the grant to build, I don't know, 32, I think, Jeff, and maybe Jeff, you can answer how many are we using right now and how many are left over? Maybe you could just answer that real quick, Jeff.
Yeah, Councilmember Held, we've got 32 or 34 out on the street right now. And we have an additional 27 staged around town that we are working on finishing railings for those so that they can go out whenever and if you all decide to do this. So 33, 34 out and about 27 in waiting, if you will.
Unbelievable. Thank you for doing that. It's a phenomenal feat, you know, building all those decks and having them ready and mobile and whatnot. Let's keep using those, right? Let's use that. We can still have the lights and all and still have Main Street open and everybody gets a little extra seating. And that way we're not just granting exponential amounts of area for some businesses to use and not others. So with that, that's where I stand. Thank you.
Thanks, Andy. I appreciate that. And I just to be clear, if I recall correctly, CDOT's not closing the first 2 blocks of Main Street on the east end. There'll be a little traffic impacts, but that will still be open and impacted by their construction, but they're not closing the first 2 blocks of Main Street in the process.
No, actually.
That's correct, Mayor. Oh.
Sorry, Jeff, but Grant actually said there's at least a 2-week period when we're looking at day and night construction crews to tear up the first 2 blocks of Main Street.
He said something like that at one of the meetings I remember, but he corrected himself. He's not tearing up the block and they're going to leave traffic open. He did. I remember that meeting you're talking about. He kind of said something like that, but that wasn't correct.
And that plan has changed.
Yeah.
What they're going to be doing now is not necessarily even working 24 hours a day. They are going to take away some of the lanes on eastbound Main Street. So there will no longer be 2 left turn lanes and a straight lane and a right turn lane. They're all going to be conglomerated down to just 2 lanes there. And their project limits are just east of 7th Avenue. They are doing nothing else any further west than the east side of the intersection of 7th and Main.
And could you also remind them that at the last business meeting, Grant mentioned that by July 4th weekend, they intend to have, I believe, the 8th Street roundabout done. And so if we're opening this, if council decides to go forward somewhere around the end of June, by July 4th weekend, so maybe only a week later, much of that major work that starts next week will be done. That's all.
That's correct, Nancy.
Yeah. Okay.
The temporary, one of their mainly only milestones in this project, believe it or not, is to have the temporary roundabout at 8th Avenue open to single lane traffic by July 4th. They are hoping to be away from Main Street intersection towards the mid to end part of June, because that's where they're actually starting. So the schedule's kind of changed a little bit, and that's why I got notification late this afternoon of what exactly was going to get started. So there has been some changes that actually benefit the town and benefit the traveling public a little bit.
So if the prominent were to go forward, the traffic going down 7th or going down Granite and then routed around the 8th Street roundabout, regardless of which way you're going, would make for much smoother travel than jig-jagging back onto Main, actually.
And that's what we're going to be doing. And that's what I mentioned in the report was we're going to be encouraging through traffic to go that way. So
Is that okay? Does that help? Okay.
Go ahead, Andy.
Thank you, Jeff. Really, one lane in a half-built roundabout with 30,000 cars, we're going to see it backed up all the way to I-70 almost all summer. That's going to be the case until they're almost done. It's going to be awesome when it's done, you know, and we will have great infrastructure at that point in that area, right? So thanks. That's where I'm.
Other thoughts? Dan, go ahead.
Thanks for clarifying that, Jeff, on the temporary roundabout, because that's what will be done, hopefully by July 4th weekend. And Andy Held, I concur with your assessment on the potential for the traffic issues that will be abundant, and asking everyone for their patience. But like we talked about earlier, it's just going to displace traffic in all kinds of unforeseen ways throughout town. And that's going to continue to be an issue in neighborhoods. And we are, as Melissa indicated, need to be forward thinking in how we're going to respond to those. In terms of the promenade, a couple comments. One, Melissa, to your comment in terms of lifting all boats, I would say, we're investing in a we're investing money to create a very concentrated zone of commercial activity to the exclusion of other businesses. So what we're building is more of a lock, and to kind of extend that metaphor a little bit. And we're raising the level of the water in the lock to the exclusion of the level of the water outside of it. And this is very real. And we're putting a lot of money into businesses to give them space to make these outdoor dining areas better. And it looks like it will be a much better executed promenade than last year. And credit to all that it's due for that. But at the end of the day, we are, as a public entity, we're investing in businesses to improve their businesses, and absent any kind of public health order, that's all we're doing. And we're taking public space to create this experience that, while certainly people appreciate that, to varying degrees, it is an absolute inappropriate use of public space in that pursuit. I would offer, if we're going to spend money on these businesses, retail, restaurant, otherwise, then we need to think about writing checks to every business that's outside the promenade to create a more equitable situation. Now, that's one of those kind of hypothetical, hyperbolic hypotheticals, if you will. But really, to put things in perspective, that's really what we would need to do. So, you know, Todd's point, residentially speaking, is well taken. And we need to be very sensitive to that. I'm also going to be an outlier on the parklets. I'm, you know, driving down Main Street, just seeing what looks like abandoned racks of clothes or empty parklets with a chair that's, you know, it's, you know, we arbitrarily, we got $50,000, we created 50 parklets and no one asked, is that too many? You know, at 4 parking spaces per parklet, that's 200 parking spaces. So maybe 50 fee to utilize parklets in front of your space if you want to access that space, that public space. There's a real cost to displace that parking to some business along Main Street who now has lost that immediate access to their business. This is an economic paradigm that evolved over generations and people invested in over generations based on a reasonable expectation that this will exist in this form for some long period of time. And we're disrupting that just to kind of create an experience that ultimately we don't need. We had this long conversations with Insights Collective about the need to decentralize our attractions, to change the focus. And I think this is absolutely antithetical to a lot of that conversation, to even think about pursuing an enduring attraction on Main Street designed to bring more people to the center of town. When, from a social context, as we repopulate our events on our social calendar, that need, that omission, that thing we did not have last year kind of is being addressed. And we're going to have concerts in the park on Main Street. This is a great venue. We're going to have opportunities to go back to our, you know, those socially contextual events where we connect again. And the need for this along, you know, from a promenade perspective, really can be discounted now at this point. We don't, that's not an attraction that we need to build into Main Street anymore. Main Street's there to serve commercially all these other things that we've done so successfully that continue to attract people, more people every year without doing anything else. And I think we need to do less, not more. In terms, Hunter, of the go, no go date, you know, you want to interpret this when you go to the Summit County Department of Health and it says by May 27th, 70% of Summit County's population will be vaccinated and they expect to go to 100% opening. What does that mean? Well, I was just in Texas and Louisiana, and to Andy's point, pretty sure 100% opening means show up, we're going to seat you where we got a table. And, you know, so does that mean the 6-foot distancing goes away on the inside? I got to assume that it does. You know, I'm in a lot of restaurants across the county every week, and I can tell you, if people are measuring 6 feet, they're using very interesting measuring sticks. And maybe it's the one they use at Loveland to measure the snow. I don't know. And, you know, but, you know, that strict adherence to 6 feet went away a long time ago, and it's not going to be anywhere in sight this summer. So I think we need to anticipate that. We need to be prepared for that. I don't think we need to create seating and retail space really for any businesses along Main Street at this point. So I'm probably even further, you know, further away from Promenade than maybe Andy Held is. I'm resolutely and steadfastly against pursuing this at any level based on what I'm getting from the Summit County Department of Health website. 27th, it's on. It's Memorial Day weekend. Restaurants, unless there's, you know, the guidance is going to come out, and I would think 30 days, within 30 days after that, the vaccination rate is going to be higher. The level of confidence, consumer confidence in terms of commingling is going to be higher. It's really, I'm just not seeing it. So great ideas, great plans. I just, you know, it's not something we're going to need on any level. And I'm prepared to just tell businesses we needed it. We did it last year. It was great. We're going to move forward with Main Street the way we, you know, we put $4 million into it, you know, 8 years ago. Let's let Main Street work. Let Frisco work the way we've been building it for the last 10, 15, 20 years. And then you'll see that level of success across the board throughout the town. It's going to be busy. It's going to be busy. It's busier year over year. It's on. It's, you know, Frisco is almost everybody knows where it is, you know, so especially on the Front Range. So yeah, I'm out, and I would also reevaluate the way we distribute parklets.
Thanks, Dan. Appreciate that. Go ahead, Jesse. I see your hand is raised. Jesse, can you hear us? Are you? Oh, there you go.
Yeah, it wasn't I was not a host to be unable to unmute myself. So thank you. You know, this has kept me up at night for a few weeks now. And I think most of it is just around this idea of uncertainty, because it's difficult. It's difficult for businesses. It's difficult for residents. It's difficult for us as community officials to try and predict the future. And I think that our need to control the future is overwhelming our ability to see opportunity right in front of us and to try and capitalize on that. You know, I recently, right now I'm on vacation. It's the first time, you know, since COVID crackdown that I have been able to do this. And I'm in a place that is typically very happening with tourists. You would think that they would have weathered the storm very, very well, and they have not. And it is in stark contrast to how well, honestly, we have come through in Frisco. And I think that's really eye-opening, because one of the reasons that Frisco has been able to weather the storm as well as we have, and yes, there have been businesses that have gone out of business. Yes, people are hurting. I'm not saying everything is perfect, but we have come out of this way better than other communities and other states, frankly. And everyone has kind of done it a different way. But I think that in Frisco, you know, we were creative, we were bold, we were innovative, we provided opportunity, we supported businesses in multiple ways to the, you know, I don't know what the final count was, but $1 million+ infused into our local businesses. And I think that really means something, but the Promenade was also a really big success, and there's very strong business voice on this council, and I appreciate that. But I want to talk for a minute about our other strategic plan goals around trying to provide more community and opportunity for locals to want to be here. And while this could be seen as just a tourist attraction, I think there are plenty of locals, Andy Held included, who will be there every day if it's open. But where we choose to gather and not just hang out, but patronize our local businesses. And I think that providing that opportunity should not go unnoticed. So I'll kind of leave it at that. I agree with just about everything that Melissa already mentioned around sort of the design. And I'll also just kind of mention that, you know, I don't have a go, no go metric. For me, this is an opportunity that, and I think that the public health orders and the situation around COVID, while very important and still unknown for our summer's future, helped kickstart this idea. And I would hope that we actually do continue to revisit this, as many of our businesses and residents and visitors have asked us to do. But one last thing, and that's just on the parking issue. You know, I kind of take exception to the businesses who assume that the public parking spaces are their spaces. And the reason is that parking is not free. We provide that as a public space. And there are other businesses on Summit Boulevard, for example, that by code have to pay for and provide their own parking at a certain level in order to have a commercial establishment. And the businesses on Main Street are able to take advantage of public parking. And so that is an amenity that should not be perceived as privatized for their business. And I just, to me, the parking situation is not applicable here, because there's plenty of parking across Main Street. There's parking on our side streets. We're going to allow for additional parking on other streets with traffic calming measures. That doesn't resonate with me at all. And then finally, on just kind of the traffic issues, whether we do Promenade or not, we are going to have traffic issues in Frisco. And so I don't, unfortunately, the Promenade is going to be a victim of the circumstance. Like, oh my God, it could have been so much better if it wasn't for that traffic project. But it doesn't matter whether we do the Promenade or not. We are going to have these traffic issues. And so I think that there's a really good opportunity here to again, push forward, lean forward, innovate, be creative, and continue this conversation, and really think through some of these issues. And if we start to hear this is just not working, then there's an opportunity to take it down. This is not a permanent thing. So I don't think we should be fearful in leaning forward and trying to do this. So for me, I think, to Melissa's point, it's about dates. I think mid-June is good. I always think that barbecue is kind of the kickoff weekend. Father's Day weekend is the kickoff weekend to anything that we do in Frisco. So to me, that's a logical starting point. And then let's see where it goes. I don't have a hard stop date either, because we thought we did last year and we kept pushing it out because it was so successful. So thank you. I'll leave it at.
Thanks, Jesse. Go ahead, Andrew.
Okay, thanks. On the logistical stuff, one is start date. I think the 11th, easily swayed, but the 11th is too early. Whether it's the 18th or the 25th would be my preference, but that's small. Parking, a 10-minute parking space, whether it's for picking up your dinner or picking up your toys, I don't see a difference. Meaning people do honor the 10-minute parking setups. They don't have to be restaurant specific or retail specific. Everybody will know it's for pickup only. I'm a little perplexed from those who spent $4 million renovating Main Street for the benefit strictly of the Main Street businesses. What did you do for the people on Highway 9 or in other sections of town? That was the entire intent. Or we do Thursday night concerts. It's a great amenity. It is on the west side of town. We're not doing concerts on the east side of Main Street. It's not fair. People finish the concerts and they go to the restaurants, probably favoring the west side. So we are providing a benefit to our town. Some will win more than others. I do think with all that's going on in Frisco, I view it a little bit differently. With all that's going on with traffic, construction, we need a reason to bring people in. The local people are going to walk down there. We're going to utilize it as constantly because a promenade is a great thing. If you're sitting in Breckenridge, with all due love and respect for our restaurants, I don't view them as being so much better than the restaurants in Silverthorne or Breckenridge that people are going to take the extra effort. We need to provide our visitors with an additional reason to come to Frisco, especially this summer, because they're going to have to fight through the mess. I think staff, you guys have done a phenomenal job in doing what we asked you to do last fall, which is look at what we did well, look at what we could improve upon, and come up with a plan. Whether it's traffic, parking, noise, equity, I do think there's the unintended benefit of having our noise limitations, which gives a competitive advantage to those who are not in the promenade. Speaking directly with Todd's business, and we've talked about it, but his bread and butter is late night concerts, weddings, and I think he wants to do live music, happy hour style. He's going to be able to do something that the other promenade businesses can't do, which is have outdoor live music. Foots Rest, my understanding is they're not utilizing the promenade, and unfortunately, because I'm sympathetic to, I'm drawing a blank on her name, but sympathetic to the noise issue coming from Foots every day. but they're not using the promenade. They're restricted by our existing laws. So we are creating, staff has created some serious fairness. I can't imagine an issue that has generated as much positive support from our community as the promenade. People are stopping, they stop me, and it's more than one or two of, this is a concern, meaning people want this. And so I do factor that in. I try to balance it with the businesses, but at the end of last year, remember, we had objectors. We had hardcore objectors at the beginning of last year. And over the course of the summer, that all modified, where it worked better than even the objectors thought. So fundamentally, I think it's a great thing. I think it's, from a COVID perspective, it's a really good thing. Hunter, to your question of what's my metric is, I don't think it's fair to our staff. I don't think it's fair to the businesses. I don't think it's fair to the lodging communities who should be advertising close, when they're doing summer rentals close to the promenade, walking distance to Frisco Main Street. I don't see, I'm a believer of, let's make the decision, let's commit to it, and let's go forward. I understand the resistance, but my view is, turn on the promenade, let's make it the best we can, let's start it when the business shows up, meaning little bit later than what we have proposed. And when it turns off, again, my view would be a little bit earlier, meaning middle of August, when, if it's like past years, our weekday business really drops off fast in the middle of August, when everybody starts, and we hope everybody does actually go back to school this year. And to counter, by the way, this is really cool in Zoom that we have Florida. I'm here in California. I don't know where Jesse is, but in California, I'm shocked by the mask compliance going on. So I don't know what their view is here, or how the rules are the same, but you see people everywhere who are riding their bikes alone down the street wearing masks. So it's a very, very different environment. And we came through Arizona, where it's a little closer to Florida. So who knows where this is all going. So I've rambled long enough. My view is, let's commit to the promenade, and let's everybody make it the success that it was last year, with the improvements that we've learned to be able to do. Thank you.
Thanks, Andrew. Rick, don't mean for you to be last, but you are.
Sure, no problem. I think having a plan in place is wise. However, having a reason to employ the plan is where I land. If there's no public health orders, I don't see a reason to go forward with the promenade. So that's where I'm at.
All right, thanks, Rick. So it sounds like, because I fall in line with kind of it, Melissa and Andrew and Jesse, and I'm in support. So we have the majority to move forward with making the plans and making the promenade happen. And I appreciate the conversation, and I think it will be a success. And as we've all mentioned, we can go backwards if we need to, and we can take it down. Nancy, was a little less clear on go, no go. What do you need from us?
We have clear direction from the council in terms of a majority. You always have the right to take it down. You always have the right to give us direction. Otherwise, is there a sense on date? Really does matter, because we think at least a week before 4th of July. We know more later in the June is a little bit better weather. Father's Day weekend is the 20-something.
Father's Day is the 20th, Sunday the 20th.
I was close, 20-something.
That would have historically been barbecue.
A big weekend for us, right? So do you want to do Friday the 18th? We'll put it up, stand it up. Okay.
Yep.
So we have a date. Leave it to council if you want to re-agendize this, your process. In other words, we'll go forward with the direction we have.
Yep, I appreciate that. Great. Thank you. And thanks for everybody who, good discussion, and from community members for weighing in. I do appreciate that. So,
okay.
Did you need something else, Nancy? Sorry.
No, I was just going to go on.
Yep. I think we've been at it for a while. Let's take a break. Be back in at 6:30. Give them a minute longer here for everybody else to get back to their computers, and we'll keep rolling with the work session in just a moment. About that, I must have. Well, my screen rearranged itself, so I lost Andy. I didn't see he was back. All right, now looks like everybody's back and ready to go. Just for the record, I note that we've lost Mayor Pro Tem Burley. She couldn't stay on the meeting this afternoon, so she's no longer with us for the work session and the rest of the meeting. With that, we'll move on to agenda or work session item number 3, and that's responses to requests from the proposal for mural art on Main Street. And I see Susan's with us. Susan, good to see you and welcome.
I am. Thanks, Hunter. Nancy, would you like me to present this item?
Sure, let me just give a quick introduction.
Yeah, go for
it. Council, this was an idea that came up through the Make Frisco program. We put it out to bid. I do understand there's some interest. We only had 2 bids, so I'm going to ask Susan to go ahead and summarize the process, what we've got, and then potential could be an option to go back out or extend the timeline or what have you. Okay, Susan.
Definitely. Okay, so we issued an RFP for the design and the installation of a mural to be located at the corner of Main and 4th. The theme of the mural, as described in the RFP, is intended to inspire hope and positivity and celebrate the resiliency of the Frisco community. And as Nancy said, we received 2 responses. One from Sheila Trowbridge, who's a local Summit County-based artist. Most of you might be familiar with her Fun Club mural, which is on the fence down at the marina between the marina and the Frisco Sand property. So a lot of our Fun Club kids helped paint that mural. She likes to bring community members into the action on her murals. The other artist that submitted is Hannah Sutton Stoll. She is based in Carbondale, Colorado, and her design is inspired by the wildflowers that grow in and around Frisco. We included both of their design proposals in your packet, so I'm sure you guys have seen those. We did share the designs with the Make Frisco group at their Friday meeting, just this past Friday. We had 3 members in attendance. Their reaction to the submittals was positive. They felt that both of the responses reflected the theme that was outlined in the RFP. They were not surprised by the low level of responses. They noted the short time frame given for both the responses to the RFP as well as the installation of the mural, as well as the fact that since it's a new program, they felt like it may take a few years to build momentum and interest. So that was their feedback. And so yeah, tonight we're just seeking your direction as to whether or not you would like to pursue a contract with one of these artists or take another direction. So.
Great, thank you. Anyone have questions for Susan or I know Melissa, Andy, I don't know if you probably weren't able to make the Make Art or Make Frisco meeting, but how that conversation went.
No, I was out of town, but I did get the same information that you all got, and I do have comments, but I no questions.
Go for it.
Okay. Well, thank you, Susan, and I so appreciate the 2 submittals. I think I've talked to a number of you, and it, at least from my perspective, I would like to open it back up for another couple weeks. I have heard from other artists that were interested, but for one reason or another, the window was awfully tight, and there were certain requirements that did take time for the submittal. So given that, I think that the submittals are strong. I just would like to look at if we could get 1 or 2 more even, I think it would provide a better spectrum from which to select something. So that's what I would propose. We open it back up, put it back out there,
and see what we get. And if not, I think we've got two great options here.
Thanks, Melissa. Go ahead, Andrew.
Fundamentally, I don't have an opinion, and that's kind of what I wanted to raise as my topic, which is they look fine to me, but the last thing you want is me making decisions about what is good art for our town. And that's, to me, why we have the committee. So my preference would be that the committee makes the decision and we bless it, or if we even need to bless it. So, you know, I thought we gave them the money and the power to bring art to our town. So if the committee wants to extend it, let's extend it. If the committee wants to select, let's select. I prefer not to be part of the decision of the specific form of art that we're putting on our street. The only other opinion I have is I generally don't like the idea of putting this art in our most busy intersection, where we're now asking people to not just, you know, we're asking them to look at the art while they're trying to navigate their way across the street. And I think there's an element of danger if we've just agreed to have the promenade. I think we're closing 3rd and Main. So now that's no longer a traffic combative intersection. And I would hope that that conversation could happen at some level of putting it in what I would consider to be a safer space for people to look at it.
Can I just respond to that comment? Because we actually batted that around at our last Make Frisco meeting, and staff may please jump in and add to this. But the thought was that really and truly, the others share your concern, Andrew, and but at the end of the day, that's really like the most prominent sort of crossroads on our main street, and it offers that incredible backdrop right there with the lights and the mountains. And so it was decided by the majority of the group that was in the end the best place for it. Most certainly you don't want people walking out in the middle of the street and taking pictures, but it really will be something of a beautiful thing to look at as you're walking by. So,
and I have no doubt that it's going to be beautiful and well done, but I would like to hear from whoever's responsible for keeping us safe that this is the safest, best place for it. Just in the same way that I don't want to decide about art, I'd like to not have the artists decide about safety. So as long as it's been, again, approved by those who look out for the safety of our streets, I'm fine. But fundamentally, I want to have that raised as an issue.
Appreciate that. Andy, go ahead.
To that point, happy to have Jeff and Chief weigh in as far as if it's reasonable or if it's not reasonable, you know, and where they would prefer to put if it wasn't reasonable. You know, we did do a huge mural right in front of Town Hall where people are just driving over it. But you know, the time frame, what I heard from Make Frisco, and I did not make this meeting because I'm here, was that the time frame for sure was too short. You know, for someone to, well, first, how are all the artists getting to know it? I know that Vanessa's working on that. It's just that it was a short time frame, and it's not the season at this point. So longer would be good. And then, yeah, I think if we could just see who we come up with. They had all, those I talked to at Make Frisco liked the pieces. Nobody was overly thrilled. They might like to see some other options within there. It was, I think, some of the feedback I got back that I haven't heard here. So I think that's about it.
Thanks, Andy. Rick, Dan, go ahead.
Andrew, thanks for bringing that up because I had the same concern at 4th and Main. And if the promenade moves forward, I think I'd rather explore ways to make 3rd make whatever art we do there more visible. And to Melissa's point, if it means, you know, some lights or something like that, if that's the only issue, then I think that's where people loiter and linger. I think the more compelling you make the art, the more compelling you're going to create for the desire to linger and look and take pictures. So yes, Andrew, I agree. However, to your point in terms of council review, I guess I would say, you know, it's public dollars, and this is the dicey part of public art. We're entrusted with the oversight of that. So if we're going to wander into the realm of condoning and encouraging public art, then I would say some level of commentary is appropriate. In terms of being the final ultimate arbiter, yeah, I'm with you. I'm not the guy, but at the same time, I think council, as the taxpayers and citizens representatives in this arena to some degree, ought to be able to make a comment, at least to say, oh, I find this objectionable for this reason, or something along those lines. I don't want to hand necessarily that responsibility over to somebody else and then ultimately be the guy who's accountable for it, because we just say, oh, we left it up to those guys. So I'm very comfortable looking at it and at least making a recommendation. If there's some other step involved, groovy, but I certainly would want to weigh in from that perspective. No more qualified to do that I am to do the plumbing in your house. But that being said, I am where I am, and this is I'm entrusted to some degree with some sort of oversight over the money. So that's kind of where I land on that part of the conversation.
Dan, are you good? Are you good with kind of the thought of extending the bid process for another few weeks?
Yeah, that's fine. More to look at is great.
All right. Rick, how you feeling? You good to extend it?
I'm good to extend it. And then I would just, I mean, if we're going to move forward with the promenade, I mean, it seemed it would make sense just to time it all up with that and just negate the traffic issue.
Okay. So, and I would agree with the traffic concerns, and I see the vision of the artist definitely, but I think the safety and having it a place where people can linger, maybe not in an open intersection, would be good. So yeah, I think the direction Susan is, yeah.
So we'll open it back up.
Yep.
We'll send it back to Make Frisco Group for a recommendation that comes back to council for final approval, and we'll clarify third, fourth, whatever at the same time. Okay. Does that sound good? Okay. I'd say a few more weeks. Yeah. I'm sorry.
I just saw Jeff turned his camera on. I didn't know if he wanted to weigh in or not. He usually.
Jeff, Gobel.
Yep.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, thank you. I want to address.
Can't hear you, Jeff. Lean forward.
Oh, sorry. Is that better?
Mhm.
Okay. Just want to address the safety issue from the public works standpoint side of things. Chief may have more to add, but I understand the lighting issue that Councilmember Sherburne brought up at 3rd Avenue. However, there is one issue that was brought up by the fire district, that because 4th Avenue is going to be the thoroughfare from one side of town to the other for them, as that intersection will remain open during the promenade, there is concern about how we maintain that access for the fire department while the mural is being painted. So one thought I just had is if council would decide to move forward and maybe do this at 3rd and Main, we can use barrels and lights like we have up and down Main Street right now to set up the same kind of lighting setup that we have at 4th and Main. And we can do that at 3rd and Main. And that way there is no issue with fire department access or vehicles, frankly, driving over the mural as they transverse across Main Street on 4th. So that is one option that I would like to make sure that you all understand that you have.
Appreciate that, Jeff. Thank you. Council.
So in the report that we bring back to council, we should add some public safety section on addressing that. Okay. So you guys will do that. Okay. Thank you.
Anything else on the mural project?
No, we have plenty of time to get that back and done and then awarded before June 18th. So that'd be good.
Excuse me. Thank you, Susan. I appreciate it. And thanks for the update.
Thank you.
Next up is our consent agenda and perhaps a motion.
Or comment,
What's that?
for a comment on consent, I thought.
Yeah. Oh, I was going to comment afterwards on consent after.
Okay, that sounds good.
Yep.
You want me to, I just want to say, Jeff, the report is great. Thank you for that. And with that, I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
That was a lot of work. We appreciate that.
Thanks, Rick. Did you have a motion?
He did.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I would move to approve item number 1, the consent agenda.
Moved by Councilmember Incan. Sorry, I missed it the first time. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Fallon. Any further discussion? Can you call the question, please?
Certainly. Aronson. You're muted. Still muted.
Uh-oh.
I see a hand with a yes.
You caught me
Okay.
trying to look at, no, I said yes. You caught me trying to look at the agenda. And the space bar doesn't work unless you have Zoom as your top screen, I guess. So sorry about that. That's my excuse. I'm sticking with it.
Perfect. Burley, absent. Fallon,
Yes.
Held,
Yes.
Incan,
Yes.
Sherburne,
Yes.
Mortensen.
Yes.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. And I just wanted to, and my comment is he has turned his camera on with that consent agenda passing. We've approved the interim town manager contract. So with that, I just wanted to welcome Jeff Durbin, who's now going to take the helm from Nancy. And I hope he's not too concerned based on how the meeting started and he sat through all of those accolades. But Jeff, we couldn't be more appreciative of you being available and interested in our town and taking the helm and getting us through the transition as an interim manager. So welcome, thank you, and we're looking forward to the months to come.
Likewise, Mayor and Council, thank you for the opportunity. I'm really excited to begin working with you guys. And yeah, I was actually glad to sit through that first part with the all the comments and kudos for Nancy for her good work. And I can tell you just from looking from the outside that she has done a great job for this community. And I've heard a lot about that from the staff as well. So I feel like I'm coming in with some big shoes to fill. But if you had the opportunity to meet me in person, I'm a taller person with bigger feet. So I feel like I have a chance of filling those shoes. And I've been doing public service for a long time. I've been in Fraser as a manager since 2004. A lot of similar issues, a lot of different issues as well in Frisco, and a bigger set of resources to make a real difference. So I'm really excited by the opportunity. And I can't wait to meet everybody in person. And thank you for the opportunity. I'm really honored.
Thank you, Jeff. Can't wait. And they are high heels, so good luck with that. Moving on.
Carries a big stick.
Moving on to new business and agenda item number 1. This is ordinance 21-05, an ordinance amending the 2021 annual budget by revising certain revenues and appropriations and appropriating additional sums of money in the general fund, capital improvement fund, SCHA 5A fund, lodging tax fund, and marina. I will open up the public hearing, turn it over to staff and Nancy.
Yes, thank you, Mayor and Council. So I'm going to have Bonnie walk through this with you. Just want to give you a little bit of a recap and reorient you a little bit. If you recall, when we brought forward the idea of amending our budget, our recommendation was not a lot, about 500,000 or so. And Council, under Council's direction, go ahead and approve more items. Because we had ended the year a little bit better than anticipated, and asked us also to go back to staff and make sure that there were other items we had taken out of the agenda and would, you wanted us to bring those forward. So now our budget amendment is a little closer to 2.5 million. So Bonnie's going to point out those items and make sure that you're aware of what you're approving that is being amended to the agenda. And so with that, I'll turn it over to Bonnie.
Thank you, Nancy, and thank you, Mayor and Council. I know this is your favorite topic. Before we start, I would like to also thank Nancy for all she's done. I know we've been over this numerous times, but I think I speak for all of the staff and how much we will miss her and how much we really, really appreciated her guidance through this last year. She always acted with grace and poise in every situation. I never saw her in a panic mode. I'm sure she must have felt that way a time or two, but she certainly never shared it with any of us. So my thanks to you. And now let's get to the really exciting part. Thank you, Nancy. So we're here tonight to talk about the budget amendment. And as Nancy said, we had a work session on March 23rd, and we went through, at that time, we had numerous items that we were presenting to council. And then council gave us direction to go back and look at the capital equipment and some other things that have come to light as well. So there are, in this budget amendment, there are some additional items that we did not discuss in on the March 23rd meeting, and I will point those out to you. Let me start with a little summary, however, though. We budgeted originally when we did the 2021 budget, we budgeted for all of the town's funds to have a fund balance of almost 25 million. This amendment is requesting increases also in revenue as well as expenditures. And then our fund balance with, if you approve this amendment, will be down to about 22 million. So the items that we added since we talked the last time on March 23rd, in the general fund, we added, or we became aware that Nancy is a perfect example. She's resigning. So, and there are associated costs with, paying out vacation and things like that. So we became aware of some retirements and resignations, and that added about 65,000 to the general fund request.
That's not all going to me.
That's not all you. That's not all you. Don't you wish?
Make that clear.
Yeah. And then we also, during the conversation on March 23rd, it seemed evident that you were interested in looking at the salaries and doing a compensation, perhaps doing a compensation study. So we did add that in as well, and that's about $30,000. So total changes to what you had previously seen is 95,000 in the general fund. In the capital improvement fund, staff looked at other items that would make our operations run smoother and that we felt needed and you asked us to look for. Those total about 430,000. One of them we talked about earlier, and that has to do with traffic control, having to do with the CDOT project and also the promenade, and that's $30,000. One of the council requested that we take a look at an ice rink evaluation study. And so we added 50,000 for that. We also had, I think the last meeting we had, the meeting where council decided we wanted to acquire the Mansfield cabin. So there's about 10,000 in there for storage containers when we disassemble that cabin to keep those logs in it. And then also we're looking at budgeting 30,000 to move and dismantle that cabin. As far as equipment goes, the requests for those are to purchase a snowcat for the Nordic Center at 235,000, the snow compressor at 25,000, adding funding to the Nordic rental equipment. I think if you'll recall, we originally asked for 20,000 and we cut that to 10. We'd like to add that 10 back. And then also to purchase a skid steer of 40,000. Keep in mind, this amendment does not amend all of the funds. It only amends the funds that we listed at the top of the ordinance. I'll recap those very quickly. The general fund, we are proposing an increase in revenues of 340,000, and that's for the American Rescue Plan. That's half of the funding that we're anticipating getting. Increasing in revenue or expenditures is 454,000, and that leaves the fund balance in the general fund at almost 18 million. Please keep in mind that that does include the economic stability fund of 7 million that council approved in 2020. In the capital improvement fund, we're not proposing any increase in revenue. We are with all of those, the new items that I just went through, plus the ones that you had seen before, The increase in expenditures in that fund is 1.6 million, leaving an ending fund balance of 676,000. The 5A fund, the Summit County Housing Authority 5A fund, no increase in revenues. Increase in expenditures of 425,000, and that has to do with the purchase of the condo at the Mountainside development, leaving the fund balance at 2.5 million. Lodging tax fund, the only change there is to add the remodel and expenses and looking at a design for the bathrooms at the info center of 25,000. That fund balance then is 790,000. In the Marina Fund, we are requesting an increase in revenues of 200,000, an increase in expenditures of 430, and the ending fund balance would be 1.2, almost 1.3 million. Again, keep in mind that with these changes, our fund balance in all of the funds will still be 22 million, and that we are meeting all of the required reserve requirements that we have. I'm open to any questions.
Thank you, Bonnie. Rick, go ahead.
Hi again, Bonnie. Just because we've talked about it over the last several years, it comes up every few years, the salary survey. In the past, you and your department have taken care of that, and we've done those internally.
Yes.
What would be the benefit to go outside?
Nancy, you want to take that?
Nice. I asked that same question, Rick. So, I've done a lot of salary and comp surveys, and the main benefit is they're more comprehensive. So right now, what we would do on a salary comparison is it's limited to looking at positions and what are the average salary and comparisons, and what do all the other neighboring towns, they're going up 3%. Okay, we're going up 3%. So it's more of a comparison, but not a compensation study. So here what's different, there's one benefit to the town and the public. The main benefit is we charge for fees and services, and we charge based on our time. So when we want to make sure that we're charging the appropriate amount. So in a class and comp study like this, somebody can come in and look at how much time you're spending on something, and that we can transfer over to fees. And of course, then the council has to make sure that they implement the increase in fees that come through recommendations. The other benefit is retention. So we do have a good retention, but I think it's primarily because we have a good culture and we have a lot of good benefits, but a good outside company telling us whether these are real comparables helps to retain. Right now, what we're doing is comparing raises. Salary comparison is different. They're looking at positions. I will say what is most likely to happen is we're most likely to be underpaying some of those positions, and then it comes back with an expectation. So the drawback to doing it is you're likely to get a request to increase some of those salaries beyond what the annual raise is.
I would also add that, we have a staff in our HR department of 2 people, and we honestly, we don't have the resources that they do. If you hire someone to do it out, we don't have the same resources that they do. So it is much more comprehensive.
Okay, and just thanks you guys for that info. It's helpful. And then I just want to clarify, Nancy, did I hear you say they also evaluate our fee schedule?
No, we use the salaries to charge appropriate fees. So when we're when we're paying the right salary, we're going to raise our fees.
Okay, great. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Rick. Other questions? All right, seeing none, I will open it up to public comment. Anyone wishing to make a public comment can do so now. Please use the raise your hand feature or turn your video on and unmute yourself. Sorry, Bonnie, looks like there's no public comment at this time.
What a shock. What a shock.
We'll close public comment and back to council discussion. And if there's a motion. I know I personally feel it's a lot. It's a big additional expenditure, but I think per our last conversation, A lot of these things are important infrastructure and to keep our level of service where it is. So it makes me nervous, but having a good, strong fund balance is at the end of it gives me a little more relief. So any other thoughts, concerns about any of the line items or a motion?
No motion, Bunny, you're good.
Yeah,
Mr.
I'll
Mayor,
go ahead.
Doesn't like budget amendments.
Mr. Mayor, I propose that we approve item number 1 for real this time, ordinance 21-5, amending.
Thank you, Rick.
Motion's been made by Councilmember Inkin. Is there a second? Seconded by Councilmember Held. Is there any further discussion on the motion? Can you call the question, please?
Certainly. Fallon,
yes.
Held,
Yes.
Inkin,
Yes.
Sherburne,
Yes.
Mortensen,
Yes.
Aronson,
Yes.
Burley, absent.
Thank you. Thank you, Bonnie. I appreciate
Thank you,
that.
Council.
Thanks for always keeping a good eye on every dollar. I know you do, and it makes us all sleep better at night. So
Nancy's taught me to round up though, so and then still struggling with that.
next item on the agenda is old business, and this is agenda item number 2, the general discussion and action on the COVID response. And Nancy.
Yes, Mayor and Council, I just have a couple of things. At first, I'm going to have, I'm just going to go through and give you an update on your last round of grants that closed out now. We've paid those out, and I just wanted to give you an update on that. So you gave out $128,634.30 on innovation grants. So those were grants that anything they did to meet the need that they needed to find a point of sale system, or gosh, there were just so many different types of things that they implemented, business owners implemented, and you reimbursed them for. The range of funds went from as low as, a couple of $100 all the way up to the maximum of $5. So quite a few, about 40, a little more than 40 grants to 40 businesses. The general grant, this is grants that went to businesses in general, $275,398. Then the small business grant that was from the state. So if you remember, so those two are from Town of Frisco. Remember, we got some additional funding at the same time from the state. It did add some extra confusion, but gave out another $93,500 in grants that primarily range from $3,500, $5,000, and $7,000. So some businesses were across all three. Now, this is just your last round. It doesn't include the first round. So quite a bit of money going back out for grants to help our businesses. They have been extremely appreciative of those funds. In terms of COVID, you know that our last public health order was on the 16th. You're up to date on everything that's happening there. We have our business meeting tomorrow. We're going to go over the new small business grants that are out by the feds now. There's a lot of videos that are coming out on how to get those grants. We've really encouraged some local businesses that are in the entertainment industry to go for the shuttered venues grant. So hopefully they will do that. But we are seeing a lot of positive improvements in the numbers, lots of good things going on there. We expect to see full staff back in at all times then coming in the coming weeks, month ahead. So we should see some of that as well. I'm sure you heard today the new CDC guidelines. Fully vaccinated folks are no longer recommended that they need to wear a mask outside in certain conditions. So things are changing, and as Dan once said, I'll always remember, when you're coming to the other side of that horizon. He does it so much better. I don't know if you can remember that sentence better than me, but is it? You're on the other side of the horizon. It's really a cool sentence. Anyway, that's it.
Great. Questions for staff, for Nancy? I would just add, back to points made earlier. If you haven't been vaccinated, the opportunities are still there. Encourage your friends, family, people you know. The sooner we can get all those shots in arms.
Yeah.
The mobile clinic is coming through town this weekend, which is phenomenal. And so, yeah, let's keep pushing that. Go ahead, Rick. I saw you wanted to jump in.
Yeah, it's a general question, and Vanessa or Nancy might have the answer. If folks are getting vaccinated outside of Summit County, how are they getting counted towards our overall percentage?
Vanessa, you're in your special committee. And I do have another update. I just remembered, so.
Oh, great. Amy Wineland actually addressed this because it was a question that was asked. It's self-reporting. So they welcome you to provide the information to Summit County Health, and they will count you, but it's not like other counties are sending them the information.
And I thought I was going to sound silly thinking the other counties were sending the information, but I went out there and thought they might not be that coordinated. Got it. Self-report.
Is that contacting? How would one do that, Vanessa? Do you know? Is that just calling or going on the website, or do you know that process at all? Or
Yep, absolutely. They have a helpline that you can call, and they also have an email address for vaccine and general COVID questions. The easiest thing to do would be to take a picture of your vaccination card and send it to that email address. But if you don't feel comfortable doing that, you can call them or just generally email them and say, hey, I've been vaccinated. I live here. I want to give you the information.
Thank you.
I do have another update. It's the volunteer recognition program idea that Councilmember Aronson mentioned some time ago. It kind of took off and all the towns, everybody got excited about it. I asked Diane Ball, told her that she's in charge of this effort. So she has an update for you. We're finally getting some plan and action here. So Diane.
Yes, thank you, Council Member Aronson, for the voluntold effort I just got here. It's awesome. And yes, indeed, we are moving forward with this. So I was in contact with the county today. Stay tuned. We will be doing a volunteer event, more like a parade, whereby the volunteers will be coming through the bays that everyone has gotten their vaccinations at. And with that, we will be distributing gift cards and a very nice note on behalf of all the towns in the county who will be contributing to this. The date is TBD right now. We're hoping to do it at the end of a vaccination clinic, whereby all the volunteers will already be out there. The cones will already be there. So we'll be just kind of tagging on to that. So stay tuned, hoping within the next couple of weeks here.
And as a result of your proclamation, all the other towns picked up on that, and the county, and they're doing the same thing, or if they haven't already. So got a lot of positive support. We've all agreed on the managers group to split it equally among the towns. So they'll get a nice gift card to use. We hope they use it locally, but of course they can use it wherever they want. But
go ahead, Andrew.
I'm still unmuted. Sorry about that. So I just wanted a reminder, hopefully May 11th is our next meeting, and I'm planning to be in chambers with my laptop in front of me, but to do the meeting, and I would welcome the company of any other vaccinated people willing to be in that space while unmasked in compliance with CDC and Summit County guidelines. And I'll work, Jeff, with you or Joe or whoever will create the technology so that this may work if anybody else shows up.
Technology's in place. We've got all the technology, and there's the plexiglass screen walls between each seat.
Cool. I look forward to seeing it, doing it, kind of moving to the next step with it. Again, it's, to me, at least in my view, it's voluntary. Whoever wants to, I welcome being in a room with you, because being vaccinated is really fun.
Thanks, Andrew. I appreciate that. And anything else in the COVID response? All right.
Nope, that's COVID.
Yeah. Vanessa,
Sorry,
go ahead.
One more thing, also per council's direction, the banner over Highway 9 thanking volunteers is there if you haven't driven under that recently. Thanks.
Vanessa, I forgot about that.
Perfect. Thank you. If there's nothing else, that is I guess it's welcome, Jeff and Nancy. Thank you so much. Again,
I'm gonna miss all of you, and I wish I could have seen more of you in person, but I'll be back, right, for interview stuff in July. So I will miss you all so much. I've really enjoyed working with you a lot. I'm gonna miss the team a lot. Anyway, thank you so much, and well, thank you, and I will miss this job a lot. So thank you so much.
I think the thanks is all ours. It's been a privilege and an honor. So, and with that, if there was a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Nancy, Jeff. Look forward to it. We'll be in touch.
Likewise. Good night, everybody.
Never so many tears in a council meeting, Nancy. Thank you.
Yeah.